Joining us is the January 28th, 2016 meeting of the East Fishkill Town Board. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Nothing really to announce tonight, just been working really hard. We had a DOT meeting last night on the Robinson Lane, Lake Walton, and Route 376 proposed intersection changes by DOT. Working very diligently on the Hillside Lake grant. Just so you know, we have tomorrow's a milestone. They have certain deadlines. We have to submit materials. Tomorrow we have a deadline to submit materials. We're working very closely with the engineering firm and to get that done in our town planner. So we've been very busy, and basically that's just what we do. So that's all the announcements for tonight. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Councilperson Cassidy?
Present.
Councilperson D'Alessandro?
Present.
Councilperson Franco?
Present.
Councilperson Marinaro?
Present.
Supervisor Hickman?
Present. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now, the town board has been provided minutes of the November 23rd, 2015, and the December 10th, 2015 minutes of the town board meetings. Madam Clerk, have there been any changes, edits, anything like that?
No, there has not.
Okay. With that, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the November 23rd, 2015, and the December 10th, 2015 minutes of the East Fishkill Town Board?
I have a comment to make, if we could.
Oh, sure.
Before. There was an issue. I know that the town supervisor last meeting noted that his name was called before everybody else, and his name should be called after all the other council people have voted on it.
Thank you, Councilman. We appreciate that.
Here's the deciding vote. It was an accident, but I don't know how we should accept these minutes, because I think we improperly voted on all those resolutions.
I would ask the attorney, but I don't think that the order of voting would invalidate the minutes, although I think it was improperly. I don't think that was the typical order. It's the way the order is usually done. But would the attorney have any thoughts on that? That wouldn't invalidate the minutes.
It invalidates the actions, but I do agree with the councilman that as the chair of the board, the chair should be called last.
Yep.
His vote is the breaking vote, if in case there is a tie.
He has an equal vote on the board, so even if there were otherwise a majority, he's still entitled to vote.
Correct.
I think if the law limited him to voting only if it was tied, then your point would be more involved in it. But since he has an equal vote as the other members of the board, it doesn't invalidate the actions.
And it was a simple order,
Right.
matter of order, which has been resolved. So, but I do appreciate your thoughts.
No problem.
With that, we do have a motion and a second to accept the minutes of the November 23rd, December 10th. All those in favor say aye. Oh, aye.
Are we doing that way, or are we doing a roll?
Okay. And we're going to have a long discussion about town board procedure, because I am going to keep forgetting to, Madam Clerk, will you please poll the board?
Councilperson Cassidy?
Aye.
Councilperson D'Alessandro?
Aye.
Councilperson Franco?
Aye.
Councilperson Marinaro?
Abstain.
Supervisor Hickman?
Aye. Thank you, Madam Clerk. The approval of the minutes passes. I'm going to take a little while to get used to that. Before I took office, I sat in for about a year watching the town board meeting. The town board meetings has always been done with an up or down vote, unless there's something specific where the town board member would request a poll vote. So take a little getting used to. Receipt and file, we have nothing this evening. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Public comments on agenda items only. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak on any item on the agenda? If you'd like to speak, please get up and approach the podium.
My name is Patricia Berry. I live in the Little Switzerland Water District, and I'd like to read some comments from my husband and me to Supervisor Hickman and the members of the town board. Please include this letter as part of the official record and public comment for the town board meeting January 28th, 2016 concerning water department fee schedules. As residents of the Little Switzerland Water District, we request that the town board reduce the minimum number of gallons that are charged each billing period. Currently, in the Little Switzerland Water District, the minimum usage charged is 9,000 gallons for each 3-month billing period. Households such as ours rarely use more than the minimum, and thus we pay for water not used with no incentive to conserve. In our case, for every 3 or 4 bills, we use less than the minimum by often 2,000 gallons or more per billing period. As usage rates have increased, we are paying nearly 50% more than 2 years ago for water that we do not use. Thank you for your consideration of the reduction of the minimum usage, which would be more equitable and encourage conservation efforts. Sincerely, John Berry and Patricia Berry.
Okay, thank you very
Okay,
much.
And can I give you a copy?
Okay, and to that, I would like to say, because tonight we're going to adopt fees, typically, we adopt water sewer fees, we talk to our operators, we get the idea of what the costs are going to be to operate the systems, and so we have to calculate out the per gallon usages for the O&M, per 1,000 gallon usages. But this has actually come up from a few people. So what we did this year, and there's actually going to be 2 fee schedules in front of the board tonight, one with a 9,000 gallon minimum, which was set many, many years ago. I'm really not sure when that was set. We've reduced it this year. We're going to reduce the minimum to 8,000 gallons. What that does is it kind of changes the whole scale throughout, but we're going to change the minimum from 9,000 to 8,000. So it's a step in the direction you're asking. We have heard that from others too, and we do want to encourage conservation, and we're trying to be more realistic. So once we do it this year, then maybe with next budget cycle, we'll see if we should actually drop it again. So, but we have dropped it 1,000. But there is 2 fee schedules for the water, and I would request that the board consider the one with the lowering the minimum, if you would. Anybody else in the audience like to speak on any agenda items? Please come forward.
I'm sure you'll hear more about the subject later, but I was not in attendance last week and only watched the viewing on TV. And there are 3 items that I didn't exactly understand because it seemed like the people trying to explain it were a little confused themselves. The number 1 was the wastewater project location, the exact location. Mm-hmm. Where is that?
By the beach.
Pardon me?
By the beach area.
By the beach, not Sunset Beach, as I was told. Sunset.
I only
Beach.
know
Okay.
the only beach I know is where you come in the one entrance there on
fine.
the left.
That's the only one I know, too.
Yeah. That would be, actually, we had looked at the other side, though, too, because in discussions with the engineers, but they felt that that was really the best part by that beach.
The picture he showed was from the 2011 presentation, which was the old island.
Yes, they had
That's
actually
what-
considered that at
That's what he showed,
some
and I got
point.
confused. Okay.
Yeah.
And then he also showed from that island, he showed the piping that would go to this additional filtering system.
Yes.
Where does that piping
It will
exactly?
be, and Ken, what is going to happen, it's going to be at the beach area, it's going to be where the 1-acre filter bed is going to be located, and they're going to move that pipe out, because the thought is to capture water out in the lake, bring it to that filtration area, recycle it, and then circulate it back into the lake.
Okay. And what are the exact areas to be served, the drainage areas? When it was over by the island, which he
Yeah.
explained, I was thinking
They
it was
tried to
6,
grab
7, and 8.
all of those roads that are coming down at a very steep angle, but now they're just going to try to capture the ones that are down towards the beach area and capture as much of the stormwater down in that area.
So it's in the area of 7, 8, 9, and 10?
I would think it'd be down, and I don't have the engineer's map in front of me. I would assume, when I hate to use that word, it's probably going to be something like 3rd Road, 2nd Road, 1st Road down there.
Okay.
Because that's closest to the beach.
Okay. And the fee, is that's going to be spelled out tonight? Is that-
No, actually, we're still trying to get more funding for it. I mean, that was the worst-case scenario. You look at me like that?
The engineer's fee?
The engineer's fees, or the total project fee is 1.1 something million dollars. That was the budget for the project. That includes planning fees, engineering fees, all those fees.
Of which he, the engineer, would like how much?
I don't have the budget in front of me. I could,
In 2011, it was...
See if it was with the contract.
The budget is
$112,000.
$98,500.
what was it?
$98,500.
$98,000.
For design and engineering.
It-
Okay, that's it for now.
Okay. Let me see if I have that.
Good evening. I'd like to speak in regards to Resolution Number 6 this evening, and that is the authorization of the town supervisor to enter into full contract with Renewage with regards to the Hillside Lake project. Could you expand a little bit on what the contract actually entails?
It's basically a construction contract. What I'm actually going to ask the board to do tonight, because we've been in discussions with Renewage, and we'll be having a meeting next week with the owner of Renewage to talk a little bit more about his contract. And what I'd like to ask the board to do tonight is authorize me to sign a contract pending review of members of the board that are satisfied that it's a construction contract. It's basically they'll do the design permitting. The town will do the permitting, they'll do the design, they talk about cost overruns. It's a typical contract that we enter into. So what I'd like to do is have a couple of board members. I've asked Councilman Marinaro, being as he's a representative of the Hillside Lake, liaison to the Hillside Lake Park District, and Councilman Cassidy to review it. And if they're okay with it, then I would like to sign it.
Okay, so the entire board hasn't looked at the potential contract that
Oh,
you're...
yeah, no, we've looked at it. They actually had the contract a few weeks ago when we voted on the interim contract.
Okay. Is there a reason why the contract isn't available to the public so that the public could actually opine this evening on what you're actually voting on?
Well, right now, the contract is not going to be the contract that's signed. It's only a proposal, and we're going to be going through it. So once we get everything squared away, I mean, I guess we could put it will be on the website as soon as the contract is ratified.
Okay. Well, it's almost... It says to enter into full contract, so that gives you carte blanche into the entire full contract, regardless of what the bottom line is.
Well, I think we explained it last week. We had a meeting on the project. We had a meeting on the budget. That was the purpose of the presentation, so everybody would be acquainted with the project and the costs of it. Obviously, at some point, you have to enter into a contract with the engineering firm that's going to be providing the services. So that's what it's all about. I've asked some members of the board if they would mind sitting in, reviewing the contract, making sure they're fine with it. And if everything works out and it meets all the criteria of the proposal, as far as the meeting last week, we'll sign it, post it on the website, and it'll be good to go.
Okay. Well, I guess maybe to fast forward to or get to my question is, there's become extreme ambiguity as far as anything residual. And I think if the residents in that community are expected to shoulder the residual taxation, I think that the residents should be able to opine on the signing of that contract. And, right now, it's nowhere to be seen.
Okay.
Maybe I could help,
Yeah.
maybe I could clear up some confusion.
Okay.
What happens is the town received an award letter from DEC the early part of January.
Yeah.
So they say, we're going to grant you this grant. It's based on a submission that was made and generic plans that had previously been submitted. Within 90 days, DEC will now send the town a contract. The Department of Environmental Conservation is the grant agency of the state that's going to administer the grant. When that contract comes, that has to come before the board. That contract will specify the amount of the project, what in-kind services DEC is going to be willing to recognize, and that was what the supervisor was explaining the other night at the meeting. We're going to try to count much in-kind service that's already been done that we can do in-house, and if this other grant for the 150 comes through. But it's that contract that will commence a commitment to build the project, because that's the agreement with the state. The engineering contract is based on a budget that was previously submitted in which the grant was awarded, which I think I said the engineering budget is $98,000. So the engineering contract would not exceed that. The engineers will be paid an hourly rate based on the work that they do as the design project. What happens now is that the engineering firm that's put a lot of energy and effort into it and has been paid some money by the town, they have to continue now over the next 90 days to keep submitting some of their work product and data to DEC so that DEC will be able to draw up their contract. And so they want to be somewhat assured that they're going to continue to work on the project. The designers were based on an RFP that was done some time ago. There were many firms solicited. This was the one that was chosen to work on the development of it. So I would think that the critical contract signing will be the one that the board will have to approve with the Department of Environmental Conservation.
But that's not what it says here. This is a contract with Renewage.
Well,
That's
the-
right.
the engineering firm-
Renewage is going to be assisting in submitting data to DEC that DEC is going to use to prepare their funding contract that we won't receive until probably March or April.
Okay, so the $98,000...
Is a budget in the grant program. It's 98.
it'll
Their
come out of-
services will not be allowed to exceed that budgeted amount unless there's a change made in the project that engenders more work on their part.
So is the $98,000 come out of the $647,000?
Yes, it's part of the grant.
Okay. So when will we know what what exceeds the $647,000 grant?
Okay. Well, what happens further is once you sign a contract with DEC, it's then becomes, if you will, collaborative effort between DEC and the town with the design engineer, and the work is then progressed through getting detailed plans for construction. Each phase of those plans have to be reviewed and approved by DEC, not only for permits, but also for contract administration, because we can't get to a point where we've done anything without their prior approval or consent, or the town won't be reimbursed the money from the grant. So it's a very controlled process. There will be public hearings because there's going to have to be a CEQA review that we have to engage in before anything can be finalized. If there is going to be a borrowing, there has to be a public hearing with notice to the community. So all those things are things that are possibilities down the road. This is to get the firm comfortable that they're going to keep working on getting DEC to the point where the project contract comes to us from DEC, and it's at that point that the town's monetary commitment is made and DEC's money is tied up.
All right.
And there is a budget breakdown that was submitted in the prior grant program. There's $60,000 for the permitting process. There's $98,500 budgeted for design and engineering, which would be the subject of the Renewage contract. There's the estimate of $745,000 for construction costs. There's a contingency fund built in, and that's
Thank
how
you,
the-
Tom.
With
to...
all of the figures that you have, I'm still left in bewilderment why those figures are not open to the public.
They are.
Those
They were
figures-
part
those-
of the preliminary
I believe
budget.
the budget's on the website, correct?
Yeah.
I don't believe that it is. As of today, I didn't see
Should have
it.
been. It should have been provided with the presentation from last week. If it isn't, it will be. But I said the presentation, we talked about the budget, project budget being 1.1 something million.
When you say the budget, I presume, is inclusive in the contract.
It's a
Not
total
this
project
contract.
budget.
Not
But-
this contract. The DEC contract will have the exact budget. This estimate that I'm reading from is a document that I believe was February of 2015.
Okay.
And this was what was used to submit to DEC for DEC to come up with the fact that we're going to award you a grant of X dollars.
Right.
They have to have it, if you will, it's more of a order of magnitude type of thing, so that DEC has an idea of how much money they would need to give us to get the project to go.
Okay.
And it is an incredibly complex process to get this,
Oh,
go through this.
I'm sure it
DSA.
is. One thing that I want to make clear, I've heard rumor that some or a few of the staff or the East Fishkill Town Hall have some sort of thought that there's no gratitude in all this. I got to tell you, I've lived here for 35 years. Most of that, I have watched the degradation of Hillside Lake. And I know that a lot of effort has been put into this, and we do appreciate it. I think whoever may have those thoughts should probably pause and consider the frustration that we've gone through and the promises and the money that has been spent. When this was initially taken over by the town, and I realized that it was a solicitation, I don't care to say that I voted for it. However, there was a 7-year plan that was laid out. And that 7-year plan, we did pay for, and while there were expenditures and design
Yep.
and different things that done, cost plenty of money, nothing ever constructive got done. So I just want to reiterate,
But, and part of that, the original plan was actually to have the property owners pay for the whole thing, which was.
well, we were
this is why
paying for
we
it. The
just-
7-year plan fell apart, way before probably even 5
Really?
years. Yeah.
I'd like to see the 7-year plan. Did it
Well,
include
it's
raking?
it's on your website, Mr. Hickman.
Well, I'll take a look through all the Hillside Lake documents, because there's a ton of them, and I will take a look
944
through that.
pages
But
originally.
all I'm saying, and again, I would just like to say, if there was a 7-year plan many, many years ago, I was just wondering if it included a raking or harvesting, because I think,
It even included restoration of the dam.
okay. And what was the total cost of it?
The dam was only $1,500 at the time.
Okay. The total cost of the 7-year plan was what?
Oh, I couldn't tell you that, but, I mean, there was a per thousand tax rate at the time, and
Okay.
like I said, it fell apart.
I wish they had gone through with it. I think it would have been a great thing, because here we are.
Do we?
Here we are going through it all over again. And to be honest with you, I had always thought that the costs were very high as far as a per thousand, cost to the homeowners. This is why we're researching all these grants.
We have had redundant soil testing and bores and,
I've only seen the one soil testing log, so I don't know if there's any others on there, but we
Lot of
actually-
redundancy,
And they
often
will
lo-
be done again, because DC is going to require them to be done again, which is part of this project with the renewage.
okay. I also will reiterate my thoughts regarding any residual taxation. This is for the town of East Fishkill stormwater.
I thought the gentleman made it pretty clear the other night, though, when he spoke about lakes, about a lot of it is just the depth of the lake, the fact that the grass would keep dying off.
Well,
And there was
and-
other issues. I know it's easy to say your stormwater is it, but I think
Well,
it's much more complicated.
Well, I think that the stormwater is a major contributing factor, even by DEC's own definition. Silt and sediment is a pollutant of concern, okay?
As the gentleman said, silt comes from
And it
everywhere.
continues to not be said that the sediment carries phosphorus
Mm-hmm.
and nitrates also. Now, it is yet to be proven, and I realize you made a very good illustration of potentially the nitrates permeate through underground water. I realize that. However, I can physically see catch basins getting filled with sediment, and I can physically see clouded water with sediment, and I have a portfolio of pictures that I would be happy to share with you.
Okay, and you sat in my office a few years ago and told me about somebody that you knew had a septic issue. And when I asked you about that, you said, well, I can't talk about it. So I
you're-
thought,
you're-
yeah, some years ago, you and Mads were in the office. No, it's you and Mr. McNaughton, I believe, was in the office. We talked about the detriment to the lake and the different impacts.
If you
So-
really want to go there, I'll tell you what the town did as an approach to that issue at the time. Put 2 catch basins in to capture the leaching water into the road.
As far as the septic?
Yes, sir.
Septic? I'm surprised, because you wouldn't tell me where it was, so, anyway, we can certainly discuss this further, if you'd like to. I would assure the community, though, that we understand, this is why we're going for grants, we don't want to impact the community. We know it's your taxpayer dollars, and we're trying our best, and I can't say for sure that there's not going to be any residual. We will do our best. We're going to have our people working on it with in-kind services. Our planner is already working on it, and we're trying to do this as a joint effort.
Okay, well, as you had said, or as it is acknowledged, it is filtration of stormwater. Now, I realize the concept of putting in the airlift pump. I have reservation how effective that is going to be. And the entire project for Phase 1 that we're speaking of tonight is supposed to treat 20% of the entire lake, 20%. And I made an illustration the other night, and I'd like to make another illustration. This appears to me that you want to put your grinding wheel on my workbench, tell me that it's going to make my workbench look better, and I have to clean up your grindings.
And you have no grindings in this case.
I did
You
not
don't
say
have
that.
any grindings
I
in this
didn't-
case.
Well,
You
I don't
have-
think that
Okay.
I don't think that your grinding wheel is doing anything for me as much as it's doing, you're doing your work with your grinding wheel.
Okay, and you have no grindings in this?
Not coming over your grinding wheel.
No, but you have no grindings of your own.
I
Everything that
I
you
can't-
say, it's all
I
counted.
I don't have any ability to say yes or no to that. I don't have any proof.
That's fine. I just thought this grant would be a good first step
I do
to
too.
solving a
I
very
thank you for
complex
it.
problem,
I thank
which
you
is a
the
lot more
day after the
complex.
last meeting.
And it's a lot more complex than just the stormwater going. I believe that there's more towards the detriment of Hillside Lake than just the stormwater. But obviously, that's something we'll continue to disagree on.
Well, convince me.
We had an engineer.
Show
here
me,
the-
show
We
me-
had an
show me
engineer
what-
here the other night that I thought did a pretty good job of explaining about Lake.
Well,
and
he
what
also went on to
Very- he
the
was very
cyclical,
knowledgeable about lakes.
the cycle of the algae
Hmm?
that grows and dies and grows and dies. Okay? I mean, I'll have to revert back to, there was a 7-year plan many years ago that fell apart. I don't blame you for that. Okay?
Okay.
But the stormwater system in Hillside Lake has exponentially increased with the rate of flow and the volume of water. So that has an extreme potential on the ecosystem and the dam. And the town of East Fishkill gets to use both of those, the lake and the dam, 24/7, 365, at our expense. Perhaps there should be some sort of rate of gallons per day, and maybe Hillside Lake can be reimbursed for using our lake.
I don't know where else we would put the stormwater if we should just, you
Well,
know.
many years ago it was
The stormwater is
proposed to
coming
pipe
off the
around.
public roads.
I understand that. I understand
And
it.
I wouldn't want to not let the stormwater go off the public roads. I think it's in everybody's best interest to drain it, so. Again, we're going to disagree on this probably forever. I think this is a good first step, but I have no problem with putting this off if we don't need to vote on it tonight
Just gonna put it off?
or vote on the contract.
I'll give you
I
one
would
more
like to
thank
keep
you.
some
You want one
momentum,
more
though.
thank you?
Excuse me?
I said, I'll give you one more thank
No,
you.
I don't need a thank you from you, sir. That's quite all right. I'm just saying, I think this is a good first step, and we can even postpone the contract till next month, get more information from Renewage, and that's fine. I have no problem with that.
What we're asking for is transparency, and I think that was even said last Thursday night, transparency.
Yeah, and I thought we did a pretty good job last Thursday night of transparency. I guess.
I still remain curious what the
I
details.
understand.
You know, this is like Nancy Pelosi, and you got to pass it to see what's in it.
Okay, all right,
All right, thank you.
no problem. Anybody else in the audience like to speak on any items on the agenda?
I agree with what Keith just said, and I appreciate very much that this is a beginning, because I think it's 25 years in the making, which is a long time to wait. And I think maybe what he was also trying to say is that if it wasn't said last week that this vote was not going to occur tonight, we would be a little bit less suspicious of a lot of things, because that wasn't honest, that you told us last week that you weren't voting on anything to do with the lake tonight, because you are voting on something. So
Good point, because
That's
I had
why
thought that
I
we
came
put
to
it
the
off.
meeting,
Yeah,
and
Mr. Gruber was, okay, no, though, and
I
you make a
had-
very good point. So what I would do, I will put this off, and I'm sorry, you're absolutely correct. I did say we wouldn't be voting on it next week, didn't I?
you did.
I
and
did say that
I had
because
to
that
go
was
to a
brought
lot
up,
of
I believe, by
trouble.
Mr. Wallers or Mr., you're absolutely correct. So I'll table it for a month. I have no problem
We
with
don't want
that.
to table it. We're
Well,
just
no,
saying that
I-
we just want honesty. That's all. I mean, I went to a lot of trouble to get a sitter tonight so that I could come, and I wouldn't have come if I had known that the budget for Renewage was going to be covered by that grant. If that had been on, if what the attorney just told us had been on the website, I wouldn't have had to come tonight, because I would have been relieved to know that the contract that you're voting on tonight with Renewage was going to be covered by the grant and was not going to be shouldered by our community.
Okay.
So it was a waste of my time to come tonight because that wasn't made clear.
My apologies on that.
So that's all we want. We don't want our time wasted either, or your time, by all of this.
Understood.
And I'm very glad that the contract is going to be covered by the grant. I hope that you vote tonight to approve that, because at least it is a start, and we have been waiting 25 years. And I think also what Keith might have been trying to say was that the town took the responsibility of maintaining that lake 25 years ago in 1991. They didn't maintain it. That's the bottom line. You can blame us, but truthfully, it wasn't our job to maintain it anymore. It was the town's job. So the town needs to take responsibility for 25 years of neglect. It wasn't our neglect. We didn't neglect it on purpose.
No, but I mean, you turned it over to us when it was going downhill anyway, and it was certainly something that should have been attended to.
I don't think any of us want to cause damage to the lake on purpose.
Okay.
Which is why we've been encouraging educational materials to be sent out to the residents, and we try to do our part to not pollute that lake. But you guys have to take responsibility for the responsibility you took on in 1991. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. No, that's a good point, and I forgot. It was a 3-hour meeting, and I was asked if there was going to be a vote, and I forgot if I knew the contract was going to be on. I'll have to ponder that a little bit. Certainly, I don't want anybody to think I misled you on purpose. If I did, that was certainly an oversight. Obviously, for that, there's nothing I can say. I did want to vote on this. I spoke with Mr. Gruber from Renewage. He is very anxious to have his contract signed, and I did speak with him over the last few days. We've been working on this. So, again, my apologies. I don't want to be misleading anybody. Yes, sir.
How you doing, guys? Actually, she answered a few of my questions. Actually, asked a few questions I was going to ask you myself.
Yeah.
But as far as the septic systems, we were told last week that the tests that were done were inconclusive, right?
Well, the
you have
different tests have been done. The flyover was a little inconclusive. Our engineer's reviewing that now. We did send that up to the Board of Health, and our engineer's not with us at this moment, but he can talk further on that. The flyovers were very difficult, and you can understand possibly why DOH does not say, okay, this is it. There have been other, I would say, hits of septic issues in the lake, some in the lake itself.
Well, I can see how the flyovers wouldn't be that good. It's a heavily wooded area.
It was tough. They use an infrared something or other, and they are very high tech. But I think that part of it was probably the time that they were taking. I didn't think that was a good thing.
There was dye tests conducted, right? Do you know of that?
I believe that the Department of Health, Dutchess County Department of Health, has done dye testing out there.
Okay, is there any kind of reports on that?
That's
that
Dutchess County
we can
Department
view?
of Health. That's their, that's what they do. They do septics and things. They have sent us some results. They've sent us actually more water well test results. I think I had last count, like, I forget. I know I had at least one file from Dutchess County Department of Health. It was like 12 samples. 6 of them failed. So,
Yeah.
and then they'd call, say, we'd like to resample, and I don't think they ever got a response again.
Well, I mean, I think it'd be a good idea to resample them. I mean, I test my water constantly, and my water's actually not bad at all. A little on the hard side, but that's pretty much it.
Good.
So, I mean, I would, as far as the septic, now, I'd like to see anything that you guys have on it.
Okay,
Anything,
sure.
because I'm curious myself.
I think that's on the website.
Okay.
I have
so
to take a look. I
I'll
saw
have
the
to-
water tests. I was looking at them today. I'd have to check, see if the coliform tests were too.
Well, as far as even the meeting for tonight, I didn't notice anything on that until 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And that was mentioned about last week with
Yeah.
that meeting.
I would, and again, my apologies.
I mean,
if
I don't,
said-
the website seems like it's
Yeah.
a little, it's lacking a little bit.
Again, I spoke with Mr. Gruber, and I know he's very anxious to get a contract, so he's assured of payment so we can move forward. I do recall being asked if there would be a vote this month, or this meeting, and to be honest with you, I really don't recall my thoughts at that time. This is a very complicated project, and we're doing a lot of different projects at the same time.
I understand that.
It does get a little-
Like I said to you last week, I appreciate what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
You're taking steps to actually try to do something with this disaster. I mean, every morning I wake up, I open the blinds of my house, you know what I see? A swamp.
Yep.
I'm sure you guys see golf courses and everything
No,
else.
I don't see a swamp.
I don't see that.
I don't see a swamp, but I don't see a golf course
Golf
either.
course, well, I see a
I
mess.
see a plaza. I see a plaza, so,
Yeah, well, it's disgusting, you know?
yeah.
It really
No, we
is.
understand.
You know, and I put a lot of money into my house trying to fix it up
Yeah.
to look at that disaster. So what makes you want to even do anything else to your house looking at that mess? You know? As far as, just one more thing.
Sure.
As far as the snow plowing and salting in that area, who has the contract for that? I'm just curious.
Well, the Highway Department, we have 18, I believe, contractors for that. I really don't know who does that. I thought our own people did the Hillside Lake. Half and half. We have a contractor doing half and one of our people doing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why the town can't use their bigger trucks to come through there anyway. I mean, they fit garbage trucks through there in the snow. I can't see why a town truck couldn't come through there. I mean, I don't see why we have to pay.
Yeah, I don't know. We've always used the 350s, yeah.
Yeah, well, outside contractor, and I mean, I find that crazy.
Well, we use one of them as ours.
And the amount that they're throwing down in there, I mean, of salt and sand in there, you could build another beach with it.
Okay. We'll have to talk with the Highway Department and make sure that they cut it back. I mean, it's...
Yeah, tell them
you know,
drop the plow more, less salt and sand.
well, you know,
Let's
it's a
not
tough-
salt and sand first, then
Yeah.
do the plowing.
Well, there's a way that they do it, 'cause they put the sand and salt down originally so they can plow it off. So they get underneath it so it doesn't freeze to
I've
the
done plowing
surface.
for years, and that sounds like the opposite way to me. You plow first, then you sand and salt. So,
Okay.
well, I'm not going to keep going on that. But listen, like I said, I appreciate what you guys are trying to do, clean up that mess, because it's disgusting.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Hi. I too want to thank the project, and basically for the grant. But I just have something I wanted, I've been a member of the Hillside Lake Board now for almost 6 years, and learned a lot about the deterioration. I've lived there since 2000. When I moved in, of course, I was told that the lake was going to be dredged. And this was what every new person from probably 98 to the present has been told from a realtor, that this is going to be dredged. So everybody believed it was going to be dredged along the line. Then we had our meetings at the school, and we had our meetings at the firehouse, and in those meetings, I learned that there was a lot of there was a lot of bad feelings. And I learned there was a lot of things that were said either at this meeting or behind closed doors or to other members of other groups, people of the town. And I think what I'm feeling after all of these years is you're saying you're going to disagree with Keith on the issues of how the lake deteriorated. I have to disagree with you.
Okay.
Okay, and the reason being is I've learned about these basins. I've learned about sediment coming off the road. I've gone to the locations and watched the sediment fill up these basins like that. I've watched them go over and go into the lake. And then I've heard, we just recently got an email from a woman who's lived in the lake for a very long time, and she had pictures of her daughter standing in the lake in 1992 with crystal clear water at the girl's feet of Hillside Lake. So that's 1992.
Whereabouts was that? Was she standing?
Well, she has
Only
a
because
picture
we
of
had
it.
gotten letters back in the 80s before we had taken it over that said that it was covered with, a lot of lily pads and
Well,
stuff.
I'm sure there was lily pads. There was lily pads when I moved in.
Yeah,
It's not as bad as it is now, but you could see water. Now you can't even see water at all. And when you talk about sediment being carried into the lake, and it's falling from the air, and it's coming from the road. It's coming from the road. The roads were built so it just falls right into the lake. If you go over to that beach side a few years back, and we had that major storm, and you just saw the grit and the grout and the rocks and everything that was carried into the lake at that time. So I don't think there's any, in my mind, there's no exception to say that that's not the main cause. And then when the dredging was going to happen, I asked, like, what feeds this lake? And they say natural springs. Well, there's no natural springs that can survive that much sediment. And now with, the lake being as low as it's been in the last few years, and it's just gotten so much worse by the management and maintenance of this whole project. And it's not the fault of the Hillside Lake people that live there now.
Okay.
It's the mismanagement, because they were taxed. The other thing I'd like to bring up is that we came to you, and you spoke to Mr. Woods about dissolving the park district and taking away the special tax that the special park district pays. Because we do not have any recreational value to any part of Hillside Lake. There is no recreational value. Even the little park that's there, we've come to you with the problems that has gone to the park.
Yeah.
It's unusable. It's just not a usable place to take, say, a child. I'm just really convinced that the lack of maintenance and care of Hillside Lake, and I really feel like Hillside Lake has been the redheaded stepchild in the community. That's my feeling.
I could assure you that I know people in Hillside Lake, and I have tried my darndest to keep moving the project forward.
And that I appreciate. Like I said, I do appreciate that. But what happened to the dissolving of the Park Lake, the district, the special tax? Why can't we be taxed just like everybody else in the town? Why should we have any special tax? Because we have no special benefits
Do you
anymore.
think, was it to dissolve a park district?
The town-
Act of the New York State Legislature?
Well, I think Mr. Woods was going to look into that. I don't know how far we got into dissolving
Well,
it.
as I
I know
think
you were part of creating it.
But I think I explained that in order to dissolve a park district, the town board would have to send a proposal to the state legislature, and the state...
Have they?
Excuse me?
Have they sent that?
No.
So
We're
in the
just talking
plan
about the
has to be
process.
what happens to the dedicated parkland upon the dissolution of it. They have to address that there's no debt and everything. The legislature
Okay.
dealt with it about, I've been watching this issue, and they did about 4 special acts last year for Long Island park districts, things like that, so.
I don't understand that answer, but,
Okay.
you
It's
know,
an act of
I'm asking, was that done?
No,
You
it
know?
wasn't done. We've talked
Well,
about the process, how it
We
goes.
also talked about, in May, we talked about making the lake smaller, and you already own the lake, because the town already owns the lake, because it was sold to the lake. I believe it was sold for $10 to the lake, to the town.
I don't know what the,
Whatever the amount of money was. I
Compensation
know
was.
there was, so you do own it,
we
you
own them,
know,
yeah.
but we just don't maintain it. Because there is no value. There's no fishing value, there's no boating value, there's no swimming value, there's just no
Okay.
value to that.
I think we know.
And we can't even
understand
get to it, except for maybe down at the end where the new catch basins went in. So I'm happy that something's going on, and I don't understand, what I don't understand is only cleaning 20%, that $1 million is only going to clean 20% of the stormwater that's going into the lake. That seems like
Okay.
minuscule to me. I don't know if it
Okay.
does to you, but it does to me. So over the years, I would just like to say that it's been frustrating to try to communicate in a fair and respectful way, and just think what everybody here has been asking is to just tell us the truth and tell us what's going on. And when we do ask, can we get this park district dissolved, How do we go about doing it?
Yeah, I would
We need
suppose-
your leadership. We voted for you for your leadership. We voted for you, you know what I mean? That's what we're counting on. We're counting on, you know, I'm going to say first names, Nick, Peter, Tom, and Manny, to be, to lead us.
Okay, would you
That's
like
what
to
we
send us a
need.
petition requesting dissolution of the Hillside Lake Park Special Park District?
Yes.
I imagine that would be the way to go. I mean, if one person
Yes.
says dissolve the park district, but if you want to see if everybody would sign a petition saying, will you please,
Is that what will do it? Because we'll get you
that would start the
petitions.
ball, that could start the ball rolling,
That
obviously.
will- Then that's an answer then. We can get a petition to out there to the people.
I don't know if we'd have to put it to a public
Not
referendum. like-
necessarily, it'd be up to the state legislature based on the plan
Okay.
that you send them.
All right,
Okay, thank you.
okay. Anybody else like to speak?
Hi, my name is Pete Sexton, 705 East Hillside Road. In 1992, when it was voted in to be the Park District, about a year later, I was selected to test the lake waters, and I did it for the state. I had to take a rowboat from Lee Baker's house, and I'd go to the middle of the lake. When I reached down into the water and took up the test tubes, that water was clear.
Okay.
All right? Today, if you did the same thing, it's the mucky thing that Renewed showed us.
Right.
All right? Number one, our lake is a tributary for all the other, for all of East Fishkill.
Right, it goes down to Sprout Creek and all throughout to the Fisher Creek
Right,
at some
and it
point.
affects everybody in in our town.
Yeah.
Not just Hillside Lake. Everybody gets affected because it goes into the water
Yeah.
system. Somebody was saying the other day about nitrates in the water. Why are the cows drinking it down in Knapp Farm?
I'm sorry, what's that?
The cows are drinking this water.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be against the law for them to have
Uh,
tainted cows?
I have
giving
no
milk out
idea
to
about
people?
I have no idea about the farm. I'm sure they must be overseen by
Does somebody still
ag
test this water?
by the ag and markets.
Well, does somebody test the water?
I
These
not,
cows are
I don't,
drinking?
it must be overseen by ag and markets, that's all I can say. I don't
Well,
know. I mean, it's something that ag and markets, I'm sure, would look at.
all right. Another thing
I mean,
is-
if they sell the milk, I'm sure agriculture markets are involved with
Well, they
that.
must be testing the water.
I would imagine they
right?
must, yeah.
So you would think that the water would be okay, all right? So I'm not saying.
I'm
I
not
know
making
for
any
sure, I just
assumptions,
know
but I
at
think it's
that
overseen
time,
by ag and markets,
When I was
yeah.
testing it, it was nice and clear, all right? The other thing about sewerage drain water from the stormwater, where I live right on the top of a hill, the mound between 5th and 6th Road, all right? And if you stood there during a rain, all right, what comes down off of 5th Road is amazing. I have a 2-foot ditch on the side of my property, which I've been calling just about every 3 or 4 years for the town to come in and fill out, all right? This ditch is bringing the water right down to the lake, and it goes right down by where Kerr lived, all right? And it goes right into that swamp area in the bottom of 5th and 6th Road, which leaches right into the lake. Nobody has ever done anything about that. They don't care about it. It's like, and I'm not blaming this board, because I'm going to tell you honestly here, it goes back to IDEMA, all right? This goes way back there that nobody did nothing about this, all right? So I'm hoping that you guys, and I'm counting on the fact that you guys are going to do something about this, and I'm very happy to see any movement on the lake.
Okay.
All right, but I think after 25 years, we've got to step it up a bit, all right? Because these people have been waiting a long time, and we might all be dead by the time anything gets done. I don't want to wait for that. I waited from the time I was 30 years old to the time I'm 64. All right?
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Good evening. I would like to just expand on the salt truck. I think he made a good point when he said that the garbage vehicles come through there. And so we're dealing with excessive salt and excessive sand, which really can't be monitored on the smaller vehicle. So can we look into a larger truck to come through there? And that way, they're metered, whereas the smaller truck, I know, cannot be metered.
Right.
Good.
We could take a look.
All right, I would appreciate that, John. And I want to just ask for a little clarity again on the location of the filtration system. I know you said that my concern is that it's not going to be affecting the beach itself and what was once a swimming area. That in the event things go good and we could get a swimming area back, this is not going to affect that. Is it
No, I
in
don't
the
believe-
other part of the lake? Is it in the lake part, or is it in the area where the beach and the
It's by the
swimming hole?
beach. It'd be by the beach, right by the swimming area. But they're
Okay.
separated.
Okay, but on the lake side, on the lake side, so it wouldn't really affect anything in the future if we, you
Want
know...
to do anything in the swimming area?
Yeah.
No, I don't believe it would.
Okay, all right. And I just want to say that, you know, we're speaking pretty recent about the sediment and gravel and everything that's going into the lake. But you know I'm here for a lot of years. Before we had the blacktop, we had gravel, dirt roads, gravel roads, roads that had, I forget what they call it, with the oil and...
Stone.
Huh?
Oil and stone.
Oil and stone?
Yep.
All of that stuff. It was, you know, it started from then. You know, I
Yeah.
just want to make mention of the condition going back further, you know, that it was detrimental to the lake. And one thing I want to share some clarity on, because I know you keep mentioning it, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know, John, that there's any septic going into that lake, or that there's been any septic, and as far as I know, any testing that's been done has not come up with any septic going into that lake.
We have
So-
had a couple hits.
Well,
And it's been hard because it's intermittent, so it's
Okay.
hard to actually
okay.
identify the source.
I want to keep something in perspective. A couple of hits, I don't want to say if a dog goes and takes a
No,
dump
it's
in
a
a
human
lake.
bacteroid, I think is what it was.
Okay, if a person went swimming, whatever the case, we're not talking about that degraded the lake. So when you speak about, you know, that you feel that there's bigger issues, and I think you're innuendoing that the bigger issues may be septic, I think that's
Okay.
not fair to put into the mix. And if I stand corrected, you know,
Okay, no, that's
go
fine.
right ahead.
That's fine.
Okay, John, thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay.
Good evening. I'd like to start with something that was actually, first time I heard of it was this evening right here. Mr. Damaso mentioned that, I believe he said some town council members were, felt we had no gratitude for what was being done, and that's kind of appalling. And being we are looking for transparency, and the whole town wants to know who was representing them, and you didn't seem to disagree with that being factual. I wonder who those council members are.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Who are the council members that feel Hillside Lake is not showing gratitude, is not appreciative of anything that's being done?
I don't think I'm able to speak to that.
If it's any of you, you could speak up and say it's me.
I don't
you
think
know?
Mr. Damaso said council members.
Within the town hall, perhaps?
No idea what he said.
Okay, we'll pass right by it. On the topic of being appalled, I'm appalled that that anyone would actually twist our seeking of information and transparency into the fact that we might not be gracious for what you're doing and appreciative, because that is not the case at all. We are not trying to stonewall this. There is nobody trying to put the brakes on the project. We all want to see something done. However, we want to know what's being done. And that leads me to the last 2 days. I emailed Ms. Hooray asking why the contract that is up for vote tonight is not publicly on the website with the agenda information. I did not get a response yesterday. Today I sent it back out, and I did not get a response today. So why is that it was not made public?
Your question is to me?
Well, everything has to be directed to you. You are the
Oh, I don't
council-
think so. I
You're the
mean,
chairman. Everything has to
Harold
be
is
directed to
the
you.
keeper of the records, and if you...
But this is a
Excuse
town
me?
board meeting.
Excuse me?
This is a town board meeting, and
Yes,
shouldn't
it
everything
is.
be directed to the chairman?
You have a question about records keeping, so I'd ask Carol.
Okay, and I copied you on an
Excuse me.
email as well.
Carol, about the record, were these records, the contract was not put on the website?
No, it was not put on the website
And,
because there was concerns that if it's not an executed contract at this
Right.
time. It's just a draft. So in essence, I was told by Bob Freeman that it really is not a contract until
Okay.
it's signed. Also, there was concerns that if it was disclosed, there's more negotiations that need to be done within this contract, is what I was told.
yeah, no, we're going to be
So-
meeting with Mr. Gruber Wednesday morning to
So there was
discuss changes to the
concerns that there were
contract.
more negotiations and that could impede the, the present or imminent contract award.
Okay, good point.
So it was very troublesome to send an email back saying that?
Excuse me?
Was it very troublesome to send an email stating that?
Did you ask me, or did you ask the clerk?
I'm
Who did you
directing
send the
everything
email
to you like
Who
I'm
did you
supposed
send
to.
the email to?
I copied you, I copied every
Oh, I don't
council member
recall.
up there this morning.
Oh, I'll be, no.
Yeah. Really? You didn't get it? Any council members get it?
I didn't check my email today.
Yeah.
Did you get-
I was
anybody?
only,
Anybody?
I got it, yeah, I got it.
So Nick, you and John are the only ones that
I
didn't get
didn't
it?
check my email.
Oh, you haven't checked
Yeah.
your email? It'll be in your email, you'll see it.
okay.
Okay. All right. Additionally, I'd like to point out, why wasn't there a response to that if there wasn't a legitimate answer? Okay?
Okay.
Couple of questions. Well, let me ask the big question here, and I won't get too far into it. A couple of people mentioned it already. I was the person that outright mentioned to you that I was aware there was going to be a vote. What is this evening? This was last week. And paraphrasing, you said you weren't aware of any vote. We went over this. You apologized.
Yeah, I was,
We've done
and that
it.
was an oversight on my, last week, yep.
It's very shocking to me, to say the least.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah. So the big question here is, are we postponing this vote, item number 6? Are we tabling it tonight?
I would think from the community, it's indicated they would like to go forward, so I'd ask the board if they would like to go forward with this.
And what is the decision?
Well, I haven't asked the board yet, we haven't gotten to number 6 yet. So we will find
So you're
out.
going to ask when we get to number 6, if they'd like to table it?
I'd ask the board if they would, no, I'd ask the board if they'd like to go forward, seeing that the community here seems to be in favor of moving forward with this. If the community feels like they'd like to table it till February, I would like to do it tonight, as I said before.
Well, speaking for myself, I would like to see what you're voting on. I would like to personally review those documents.
Okay.
So back to where you say they're incomplete, and that's why you can't share them, what exactly are you voting on?
We're voting on a contract to engage the services of Renewage to perform certain duties as per the presentation last week, because there are certain things that we have to do for DEC. And so they would like to be sure that we're going to engage them for the project. And it's a typical construction contract, of which we do many of them. But I've asked Stephen Gruber to come in because I'd like to discuss certain aspects of his contract. So he'll be in Wednesday morning. I've asked Councilman Marinero if he would attend, and Councilman Cassidy, Councilman Marinero being the Hillside Lake liaison, to sit down and go over the contract and some questions we had for Mr. Gruber on Wednesday morning. And that's what we're going to
Do you
hopefully
think-
vote on, if the board is happy. And if the board doesn't feel that he's answered all of our questions, then we will table it until we get all the answers to, to the contract.
Do you think the Hillside Lake Advisory Board would like to see that and be in on that meeting as well? Don't you think that would be
I don't
good
know.
thing as far as communication goes and transparency?
I don't know. I remember a few years ago, I remember actually when we put out the first RFP for this project. As a matter of fact, we'd send out, must have been back in, I'd say probably 2010, we'd send out RFPs to several companies, asking them if they'd like to be involved in this stormwater project. And we actually had quite a few respond. They're right here in this room. We had a meeting, and then we answered all their questions. And a member of the Hillside Lake Board at that time asked me for a list of everybody who responded to our RFP, so I gave them a list. And then in the end, we only got one. Renewage was the only company that responded. So I called one of the companies. I said, "What happened? I thought you guys were very interested in this." He said, "Well, we got a call from a member of the Hillside Lake Board, and we decided that we didn't want to be involved." So I said, "Okay, that was unfortunate." I believe I called you up and I asked who called on your board, called these different companies. Yes, I called you. Well, no, I did.
You have
I
never
called
spoken
you.
to me on
Oh, this
phone.
is 5 years ago. I called you and you denied that anybody called. But one of the gentlemen
I
from one
will
of the
say, I
engineering
can only
firms.
speak for myself.
I called you 5 years ago.
If
You
that
may not
did happen,
remember
I
it.
have no
You
recollection of
you may
speaking
not
to you on the
remember it.
phone
I couldn't
ever.
understand that. It's 5 years ago.
I would have told you.
No,
I don't know how to do it.
Well, you did tell me. You said nobody on the board. So I said, no, that's understandable. So we had one company, Renewage. So, we're going to move forward. I would hope that the community is okay with what we're proposing. This is a simple contract to enter into for engineering and doing the project.
On that topic, you spun it
Oh,
around.
no,
and
no,
moved
no,
you
but
onto
I'm just
another
want to
topic.
give you a little background of what happened, and I did.
What I'd like to question there is you're saying, I don't know what that even has to do with what I asked, first of all.
Well, I think it was
but
a
I'll
good
address it
example. It's
anyway.
sometimes a little concerned with the Hillside Lake Board.
Okay. Number one, how do these people even know the person was from the Hillside Lake Board? Because they called and said, I'm from the Hillside Lake Board?
That's what he was told.
I got people in
Maybe it
Africa
was somebody
sending me
it may have been
spam
somebody
email
misrepresenting
every
themselves.
week telling
You're-
me I have
you're
to send
absolutely
$1,500 or my
You're
relatives are going to
absolutely
be
right.
chopped
They
up.
might have been misrepresenting themselves, but that is what I was told.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt?
No,
one
you
sec-
can't. Excuse me. I'm speaking to the supervisor at the moment. I find that just preposterous that you wouldn't question the people that claimed that they heard from the Hillside Lake Board, they don't want to be involved. What was said?
Oh, I know
That they
this. I
wouldn't
know
want
the
to be
company
involved.
well. We had a lot of interaction with this company. So when I called them up, and he said that, and I called you, and you said absolutely not. So I said, okay, I'll take
Am
you.
I the chairman of the Hillside Lake Board?
You were on the board at the time.
So, again, to clarify here,
Oh, you used to call the office in the old days.
in the very old days, yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I called you. But anyway,
I
regardless,
would come
I
to
would,
the office. Let me
regardless, what I would
clarify,
like to
because
say.
I've never spoken to you on the phone.
Oh, yes, you have.
And you said you
No,
don't
no,
open my
you
emails.
have. You just don't remember it. What I would like to do, and it is, and this is fine, I would like to move forward with the contract. It's a typical construction contract for the budget, which was just discussed. I would like, if the community would like to go forward, I would like to go forward. If the community would like to wait till the February meeting, we'll iron out everything. And, but again, I'm a little concerned because when you're doing a contract, we would like to just enter into a contract with the company. But if the board feels, if the community feels that should be something brought out to the community, I have no problem with that either. We could do that next month. It's really up to the community.
So back to the question at hand. 5 years ago, somebody claiming to be a Hillside Lake Board member
So I was told.
called all your contractors and told them
Oh, I only
whatever,
asked one
that-
of them.
that stopped
I
them.
only asked one of them.
Oh, well, the story's changing. Great. Okay, you sent out many, but.
Oh, yeah,
okay,
we
the
probably
story's
sent out
changing
about
as
8
it goes. Good.
RFPs, and I had one company that we had dealt with on many different projects, and they were very interested. So I
Right.
called the gentleman
So-
up, because I knew him quite well, and I said, what happened? And he said that, so. And then maybe they misrepresented themselves, sir.
You know what?
And if you would like to be involved, if the community would like to be involved with it, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I'd like to be present at that meeting as a Hillside Lake Board member.
I will consider that. I will talk with Mr. Gruber.
Why does it need to be considered, and what does it have to do with
Because,
Mr.
you know,
Gruber?
one of the problems that I do
See,
have,
you're
Mr.
sticking
Wallace-
back to 5 years ago.
Yeah.
By some word of mouth.
Oh, by somebody that I
5
dealt
years
with
ago.
on many different occasions, and not just some word of mouth. I've spoken to this gentleman often, so. All right, let's see what we can do. I would like to move forward with the contract. If Mr. Wallace would like to be there, is he representative of the community? Everybody would like to have him there? A simple yes or no would do. You don't want to have him
Why
there?
don't you send out an invite to the Hillside Lake
okay.
Board?
Okay.
So the entire board should be there because they represent the community as an
see,
advisory board.
Okay. All right.
And then we can get the information to the community.
But you have a liaison. He's going to be at the board.
Yeah.
He's going to be at the meeting.
Not an engineer.
All right.
He's meeting with the engineers. He's going to ask appropriate questions. He's been involved with you from the beginning of everything. He's well-versed in what's going on. Councilman Marinaro knows.
Somebody asked that you would consider somebody, a resident of Hillside Lake, to be in the county.
I would certainly do that.
Thank you.
May I, just one second, if the board allows me, I want to read the resolution, if I may. I have added something to it.
Well, I don't know what you've added to it, Councilman, so.
At the bottom, I've added, you mentioned I'll be there. Pending review and, if any, ratification by Councilman Cassidy and Marinaro. In other words, this resolution and this contract, unless it's ratified and reviewed properly by us, it's not going to go anywhere.
And shared with the public.
Well,
Could be
after,
added to that as
I
well.
don't know, after we
I would like
we
the
do,
opportunity to review the contract and come up here and, or come to the office or send an email. You don't open my emails. it's
after
useless.
this is ratified.
So I'd like the opportunity to review the contract. That's
Yeah.
all I'm asking. That's
After
transparency.
this is ratified
So,
and reviewed,
yeah, well, it's fine.
is it possible, after we review it and we agree on this contract? Is it possible to
I have
post
no
it?
problem with that. Sure.
Take the mic so everybody can hear.
So I just want to add, I know there is some issues with this contract. There is a timing issue on this.
I wanted to expedite it, to be honest
I
with
just
you.
want to give you guys additional information so you know why this is done.
Listen,
There is a time frame to it. That is all I'm saying.
Totally understandable, and I'm not looking to put the brakes on it, sir. The ambiguity of the residual taxation is the biggest problem here. That's it in a nutshell. All right, thank you.
Well, that problem can be addressed because the town board cannot borrow for a park district unless it holds a public hearing, notify all the residents of that. You have a public hearing and takes a vote on the amount that's going to be borrowed. This contract, but this, I'm not saying, but you're saying that's the only way there could be a separate tax on the Hillside Lake community. So you asked that question. This contract does not bind the town to go forward with the project. It doesn't bind the town to, as I said, that binding document is going to be the New York State DEC contract, which the board probably won't have before at the earliest March. My best guess is April from having gone through the process. This contract, as the supervisor said, whenever we're going to put in a water line, a sewer line or whatever, we always engage a professional engineering firm if we're not going to do it in-house. That's what this agreement is. Okay?
It's a simple agreement.
No, it's an engineering contract for a project. I use those as an example. So this is a design contract for engineers to go into the design phase when the DEC contract is approved based on the concept that was previously submitted. But they will not start designing that until the board has signed the contract with DEC. That contract has to say how much DEC's paying, how much the town's paying, and obviously you would know how the town's paying it. So that's what this is. This is not the be-all and end-all. If we don't sign the contract with DEC, this contract ceases to exist. We've paid the renewage $18,000 to do for what they've done. They're getting there. And then this contract tells them that they're the design contractor, okay? And as the supervisor indicated, there's a portal on the DEC website by Saturday, so it'll be
We have a
tomorrow.
lot of work to do tomorrow
Certain
afternoon.
information that was part of the preliminary schematics and plans has to be updated. The list of minority contractors, that whenever you're in a state contract, things like that, the town's insurance certificate, all of those things are sent into DEC through the website, their website. Then they develop the contract. There may be another 30 questions between now and us getting the contract in March or April. And that's what Renewage is saying. If I'm going to be doing all of that, I want to get paid an hourly rate. So.
And once we get this, we'll put it all on our website.
And the other thing is that Renewage said that they would like to start this project going by the end of April. In order for this to happen by the end of April, if we don't submit certain papers to DEC, we are delaying the project. That means that if they don't get the paperwork, this is going to happen next year. And they really want it to happen now. So I understand that everybody is concerned. I am concerned. I mean, if you guys trust me, I'll be there. I'll do what I have to do to make sure that.
I would appreciate if you would seriously consider, I think you said you would, a resident of Hillside Lake, if that has any,
Would you volunteer?
I would have to look at my schedule, but
Okay.
I wouldn't want you to limit me there.
Okay. Just a question.
And I would be fine with Keith being that resident. As well as the other board members here, I believe. If they disagree, you could let me know.
Okay.
If he's available, and he wants to do it.
We'll see. After, actually, we
If
have a
not,
lot
I'll
of
be
work to
there.
do between now and then, so.
Again, thank you.
As the verbiage in the letter said that not getting the information to DC tomorrow will put the grant in jeopardy. So we have a lot of work to do between now and tomorrow afternoon to make sure everything's all tied up, so.
So to
That we will
clarify
do.
something here, the next contract that Mr. Wood is talking about will be pertaining to any potential tax levy
Right,
to Hillside Lake.
right, that's what finalizes.
Nothing by signing this contract.
It doesn't do
that
that
pertains
because the
to a
next
future tax
document,
levy to Hillside
when
Lake.
you sign it with DEC, the town is committing to pay X dollars, and they have, and so that, but at that point, in order to sign that, you have to know where you're getting the
So
X
this
dollars.
is contract is just for the $98,000.
It's for not to exceed 98,000 is for design
And
services.
the 98,000 is coming out of the grant.
Yes, that's in the budget from the
Okay.
grant.
If I may address Mr. Wood, being he has the figures, you mentioned earlier there's 60,000 for permitting, 98,000 for design and engineering.
Right.
745,000 for construction. That leaves over, if I can read this, $322,000 remaining.
No, well, then it goes, I didn't read the whole list,
Yeah,
but.
that's what I'm asking.
Okay, there's construction contingency, they always put in 10%, so that's 74,500. There's construction supervision, and this is a proposed budget that formed the grant. It doesn't mean that these are hard numbers that will be
These are
expended.
estimates, projections.
Okay?
Okay.
And they have, one title here is workforce, that's for 20,000. I don't know what that is without going back into
Okay.
the other. All right, and then it has fiscal service and insurance, $15,000. Well, the town will use its own insurance, so that's a cost. That will be an in-kind contribution. So when you add up the numbers here, it comes to $1,113,000. Then they subtract that $250,000 grant if we receive that.
Possibly we're going to get.
That
Yep.
leaves the difference of $863,000. They're saying the town matches 25%, which would be $215,750, and the grant number is $647,250.
Okay.
So that number for the town matched $215,750. We know already the insurance, which was budgeted at 15, is taken care of by the general town insurance policy. So that 215 becomes 200.
Okay.
And likewise, we'll go through the other numbers in the budget, and between what we've done or what we will do with the staff that's paid for by, the general budget, that will reduce that town's contribution.
Yes.
All right, that's in-kind service.
Okay. So to clarify, out of the, I thought it was 1.175 million. You say it's 1.13.
Just, yeah.
I'll go by my calculations. When you take 98,000 away from 1.175 million, you have 1.077 million, $1,077,000. You're hoping for a grant or two to cover
Right.
some of this,
Yes, we are.
but there's nothing.
Right.
We're pursuing them. I just sent another letter out. The gentleman talked about a tributary. I just did a very long letter to FEMA describing the importance of Hillside Lake to the tributary, which actually goes to the Fishkill Creek. Very long letter. And I sent it to Congressman Maloney's office saying, we need to move this along. And their representative said, we will put this out to FEMA. And that was about 2 weeks ago. So we're pushing as hard as we can for other funding.
I hate to be the downer, but should we not get a grant, being we've tried for multiple grants and we know.
Well, I understand.
we do not
You
get
don't,
grants easily.
I've been just that much of a downer as you have.
What is the plan? Because the total project was still over $1 million short.
Well, no, we
I
wouldn't be
mean, no, we're
million.
not $1 million, sorry, we're not $1 million. We're
But
still
we will cut
600,000.
whatever we have to cut. We will put in whatever money we can put in. And if we have to make the project smaller because we don't get the money, maybe that's what we have to do. Or if the community decides they would not mind participating to a little bit, that might be another option.
As far as making the project smaller, it was capturing 52% of the stormwater in 2013, the design. Now
Oh, I
it's
understand.
only
I
capturing
understand 100%.
22.5%.
But if you have to bring it in
Make it
on,
smaller.
if you have to bring it in under budget, or if the community would like to participate with the town, we will make this happen.
And if you make it smaller,
I'm not a
it's really
proponent of
not worth
making
the
it.
investment.
Well, but that may be true. I'm just saying that if we have to bring it in under budget, with the budget we're given, we'll do whatever we have to do. If the community would like to partner with the town, we would be more than happy to make sure this thing happens.
And
in
we
the-
have,
in the
through
size.
the DEC contract time, which would be, my estimate is April, to find out about that other funding, if we have it, et cetera. And then that's part of the process you go through with DEC. It's just, as I said, the grant was based on the general design concept. And as you go through the design of it, sometimes the engineers can save costs, bring it down. You work with DEC through that process. So there are many options that will still be available to us
Okay.
in that.
The thing that throws probably several people off is in this resolution here, it refers to the full contract.
Well,
So
that
from
was
what I'm hearing, this really isn't the full
This
contract.
is Renewage's full contract.
Renewage's full
We had done an interim contract about 2
Okay.
weeks ago, and this is our full contract.
Okay,
And Renewage won't construct it, they just design it.
right. And do we have any leads as to who will be doing the construction yet, or does
Put
that
it
have
out
to
to
go out
bid.
for a bid?
Be a typical bid.
Okay. In looking on the website for the contract, I was looking through the whole Hillside Lake area, and I know the information on there is not being updated at all. One area says, all correspondence with Hillside Lake pertaining to stormwater. I think the last PDF in there is from 2010.
Where's Stephen Gruber? Doesn't he have a film on there?
He has a film.
Should
but what
have
I'm
his
saying is
DVD or
the
his-
areas of Hillside Lake.
Yeah.
It says communications with the community. There's been a lot of communication with the community since 2010, but it's not on there.
No, I'm saying about the Hillside Lake, the grant
I'm not
part
talking
of
about
it.
that. I'm talking about the area in specific.
Oh, that
you
area,
have
okay, I'm sorry. I
That
thought
whole
you were talking
thing
about the grant, yep.
really needs to be updated
Okay.
with factual information from 2010 on.
Okay. I don't do the
I don't know
website. I
who
will
does-
contact the webmaster and have him take a
Who
look
is the
at that.
webmaster? Who is the webmaster?
We have two. We have one that works downstairs. His name is Rick Witt, and they have another gentleman that used to maintain it for us, so.
And who's that?
Excuse me, I forget his company's name. He's a contractor. But we're using Rick Witt downstairs more often than the contractor.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
could you email me when you find his name?
Yeah, if he's still working for us,
He's paid
absolutely.
for. We pay him, right?
Excuse me?
The town pays
The town
him.
The other
pays him.
contractor is the one
But
that...
I'm not, we're using in-house now. That was the former
Oh, I
contractor.
thought you said you have two people you're using.
We have him. I'm not sure his status. I think he's still doing some small updates.
Okay, so
All right, I don't
he's
do the
working for us.
website, but I will look into it for you.
Yeah, if you could just send me an email. You have my email
I'm sure
address.
Carol's
I'd
got
like
your
to know
email.
Who the other person
I'm
is.
sure, yeah, I'm sure she's
that our
got
tax
it.
dollars are paying for. Also, on a side note, coming in here today, a gentleman in the audience told me he's tired of hearing about Hillside Lake. Not the first time I've heard that. And it won't be the first time I say this, and I told him exactly what I said at this podium probably about a year ago when someone said that at the podium, is to ask themselves, why are you hearing so much about Hillside Lake at the podium? And I was pleased that the man knew the answer, because nothing's being done, or very little's being done, maybe he said. I'll paraphrase. And that is the exact reason. So I want the general public to know, they hear so much about Hillside Lake because we're not getting answers. We're not seeing anything done. Okay? We see the grant now. We hope this is a good move and this is going to move forward. Mainly, and it was set up here by more than one person, we're not getting transparency. We're concerned. That's our community. We want to know what's going on. And, this leads back to the grant again. I mean, the contract not being seen to us, not allowing us to see the contract because it's incomplete. That should have nothing to do with that. You can put a note on there saying incomplete. Still, we want to know what's going on.
Okay.
Okay? I don't believe that's a legitimate answer to say you can't look at it because it's incomplete, yet we're going to vote to move it forward. Mary Ellen was up here questioning dissolving of the Park District, which I myself got up here probably a year ago now and presented to you about dissolving the Park District and possibly putting recreation in the northern area of East Fishkill via Hillside Lake. And I won't get onto that because I want to stay on to the agenda items. And I believe the dissolving of the Park District is part of this agenda item pertaining to Hillside Lake. At that time, we questioned what it would take. Mr. Wood mentioned that he would find out all the information and give it to Manny. And then we'd look into the town pursuing that if that's what we wanted to do. Was that done? I don't. Could you ask Mr. Wood, or may I ask Mr. Wood?
I don't think I have to ask him for you. I think
Was that compiled?
I know I've spoken of it many times with board
times.
members. I'd
You were
have to
gonna-
see if I did a memo, but I.
Yeah, I believe that at the time it was asked to be put in just layman's terms
Right,
and
because
and
I think
documented in the paper, so.
I referenced the fact that you need the act of the state
Right,
legislature.
right.
And I believe I recall at a public meeting discussing the fact that normally what would happen is there would be a petition from the community seeking to abolish it. The town board would have to come up with a plan as to what would be done with the property that is parkland. That would then be voted on by the town board. It goes up to the state legislature.
Right, you explained all that
And
earlier.
then it did, remember? And then it comes back for a home rule message.
Right.
And it
So-
goes back, and if both houses of the legislature approve it and the governor signs it, then the
Yeah.
town board's authorized to abolish
you-
it.
I
You were going to
remember
lay-
that discussion also. So we had a discussion here, I think it was last year, about the potential for the parkland and all that also, and I think that also came up at that time.
And you were going to lay that out in an email or anything that could be
think, I
printed?
remember
so
something.
people
Yeah.
could read it. Well, if it passed your memory, I'm asking you now, again, could you please present Manny with, in layman's terms, just simple terminology, what has to be done? If we, the residents, have to do something to get the balls rolling down there, we'll do that. It would seem like the town could send out a petition to do this, but whatever needs to be
I
done.
think we talked about this at the meeting afterwards, because Tom was not at that meeting the first time we sat here and met.
Right.
And I asked Tom, and at the end of that meeting, I remember him saying that Hillside Lake had to vote to give this up, to petition us to
Okay.
take it. And at that point, it was decided that you were going to come in, whoever it was going to come in and meet with Rec
I
and
remember
Scott
you're supposed to be with the rec
to
commission.
decide what could be done.
That was for the recreation portion of it.
Yeah,
Yes.
but that was, I think it was also
lake
discussed.
The Hillside Lake people were going to come in, the board was going to come in and meet with the town, because the ball was put in your court, because if I lived in that lake, I wouldn't vote myself to say, hey, I'll give you this property in town, and you guys can do whatever you want with it.
You have it
I'd
already.
want a little bit of transparency, to use a word that everybody likes today, and I'd want to know, what are you going to build in my, how many acres we got there, 68?
26.
26 acres. What are you going to build in the middle of my 26 acres that's in the middle of my yard? And that was the point that was left at, when we left that meeting, that there was going to be a meeting between Hillside Lake and Scott and Recreation.
Rec board, I remember.
but the-
And then Tom was going to get back to what, to go from there.
First of all, there's not much that could be built in the middle of that lake that would be any worse than what's there right now.
Okay.
Well, it depends on point
It's
of
two
view.
different topics here, though. There's the dissolution of the Park District, and then that would have to be done before any of the recreation.
But we needed a plan to go to the state with. Yes, they have to know what we're going to do with it.
All right, can we stay on topic
If I
as
remember
far as the
correctly.
agenda items?
didn't want to get far into that.
Yeah.
All right, last thing, and again, it has to do with the stormwater, so I'm going to ask it. I asked you at the presentation when I had questioned that only 22% of the stormwater, 20% actually of the sediment coming into the lake is being captured by this new plan. And I had asked, what's the plan for the other 80%? Because that seems very off balance. And you mentioned we have deep sump pumps, catch basins that we clean regularly. And I asked you when the last time, you weren't sure.
Yeah.
I don't know, you said you were going to put it on the website.
We're compiling
I
all
haven't
that
found it.
information. We're compiling all the,
compiling
right as
it?
we are speaking, we're compiling all the information on all catch basin cleaning in the town of East Fishkill, so that will be part of it. Should have it next week.
July 20th.
Our
Okay,
MS4
and
guy's working on that now as
Do
we
you,
speak.
do you know how often they're supposed to be cleaned in Hillside Lake?
I don't do MS4.
Okay.
I know we.
Perhaps you
sorry,
could ask
we
the
cleaned
the
them all
highway
last year, though.
superintendent.
We cleaned them all last year?
Yeah.
Okay,
It
we
was
cleaned
all
them all
last
last year, so.
Is that right? Yeah.
Okay, I believe it, the plan was twice a year.
Hmm?
So I'm just curious, when is the next time they'll be cleaned? No. The catch basins, the new system, yes, should be cleaned twice a year. I'm talking about catch
Yeah.
basins now.
Well, the DEC says we only have to clean
Because it's an
20%
impaired
of our
water body.
Well,
basins
we've,
every year.
yeah, we've
so
cleaned a lot more than we
I
have
think
to.
we're trying to do
Now,
them all every
this is
year.
Hillside Lake alone, because it's an impaired water body, it has different regulations.
Understood?
It doesn't
regulation
fall under
that
the
says
umbrella
it has
of
to
only
be
10% of the
Oh, I
town.
know,
Okay.
we understand what your
All
point
right,
you're
so
making.
you're telling me there is a schedule for when these should be cleaned?
We do all catch basins in the town of East Fishkill. We have to do so many. I know we did all of Hillside Lake last year. I don't know if we've done any this year yet, but we will be back doing them. That's part of our regular
Okay.
catch basin.
The question was, is there a
Yes.
schedule?
The answer is, I am not in charge of MS4, and I'm not in charge of catch basin cleaning, but I will find out.
Who is in charge of MS4 currently?
Currently, Walter Artis is our MS4 consultant, and the Highway Department coordinates with him to do the cleaning, and we've actually contracted out, which we probably will be doing again this year, to have a private contractor do some of our catch basins.
So shouldn't the highway supervisor have the answer to that question? I mean, the highway superintendent have the answer to that question?
I can't speak for the highway superintendent, and I don't know if he has
You
the
ask him?
file with him right now. I think that's something that we could discuss tomorrow.
Because every time we bring up something that has to do with the highway, you say, well, the highway superintendent is an elected official, I have to ask him.
It's got to do with.
And he's here right now, so and you always say you'll ask him, but you don't get back to us. So here's a great opportunity.
I will have all the MS4 information next week. But if the highway superintendent, I would just like to mention, our highway superintendent is here, and we are very much aware of Hillside Lake. I think, as the engineer said, highway superintendent's only been in office for a month or so. Yes, sir.
1 month, that's correct.
1 month. So.
And as per New York State DEC, 20% of the basins in the town of East Fishkill have to be cleaned every year.
Okay.
So that means there's a 5-year rotation on the catch basin cleaning system as per MS4. Now, last year, the old highway superintendent that retired
Mark, slide your microphone over,
cleaned the basins in Hillside
just to
Lake.
the table.
And we anticipate doing that again this year.
There are
Okay.
different
Thank you.
regulations for a 303 day impaired water body. It does not fall into the category of 20% per year.
We will know that soon enough. Okay.
This also was the MS4 officer.
No, I understand that. Thank you.
So point being, Mr. McCullough knows that. He was the MS4 officer. He's aware of Hillside Lake falling under the regulations. So my question is, what is the schedule for Hillside Lakes?
When are you going to schedule the cleaning?
I'm not asking when you're
Excuse
going to
me,
schedule. I'm asking
excuse me, sir,
do you
just one
have a
question.
schedule?
You keep
Because you
asking me
should.
what the schedule for Hillside Lake is, and I cannot tell you when the catch basins will be cleaned this year.
And you don't want to communicate while you're...
Well, when I do, you seem to address
So you
me
changed
even
my
more.
question.
So I will
Changed my
ask him
question,
tomorrow.
so I'll repeat it, and then if you pay
Well, why don't
attention
you just-
closely, so you get the
Yes.
words right.
I
okay?
don't. I would not want to.
Is
I would
there
not want
a
to make a
schedule?
mistake when you ask me this question, sir.
Is there a schedule for cleaning catch basins in Hillside Lake?
Is there a schedule?
At 8:30 PM?
Mm-hmm. No.
Now, come springtime, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you
Simple
get that?
answer.
Did
It was
you
very
get-
simple.
Would you
That
like
was
to?
all I
Would
was
you like me
asking.
to repeat the answer for you?
That was all I was asking. Thank you.
Anything else on agenda items? I would like to wrap up because we have other issues to get to.
I have one question.
Sure.
Peter, how long have you been on the board?
20 years.
20 years, and you have no idea how big Hillside Lake is?
I didn't know, there was a bunch of numbers.
Wow.
A month ago,
I've lived there since '04, and I found that as 26 acres.
No, we were talking about how much was possibly usable. There was 3 or 4 different numbers that were thrown around at
Just
the
a
meeting.
little-
It's 20-some acres, so I knew.
All right, it's a little confused to me. Thank you for your time,
Okay.
everybody.
All right. Anybody else like to speak on any agenda items? There being none, tonight, receipt and file, we did that. Public comments, we've done that. Public hearings, adjourned public hearing on Shade and Sun. The applicant has withdrawn their application, so there will be no public hearing on the Shade and Sun rezone. They will come back to us another time. Under resolutions, the first resolution declaring surplus materials from the Recreation and Police Departments. Whereas Police Chief has provided the Town Board with a listing of vehicles and equipment which deems to be of no further use, and the Grounds and Building Supervisors requested surplus in the form of a John Deere mower. Town Board has reviewed the list that has been attached. Now therefore be it resolved that the vehicles and equipment on the annexed list be and hereby declared to be surplus and to be disposed of by auction. Do I have a motion to declare this certain material to be surplus and send it off to auction?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, will you poll the board?
Councilperson Cassidy.
Aye.
Councilperson D'Alessandro. Councilperson Franco.
Aye.
Councilperson Marinaro.
Aye.
Supervisor Hickman.
Aye. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Appointing a part-time planner, whereas Michelle Robbins, AICP, has been a consultant to the town for planning, and Ms. Robbins is interested in coming to the work for the town of East Fishkill. It's a desire of the town board to continue her services as town planner. Now therefore be resolved that the supervisor be hereby is authorized to enter into an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Cortland, who will share the services of Michelle Robbins, where Michelle Robbins, who will be an employee of the town of Cortland, shall provide professional planning and consulting services to the town, and to the town of East Fishkill will be provided on a two-fifths time basis. Be it further resolved, town of East Fishkill shall reimburse the town of Cortland on a quarterly basis two-fifths of her salary and two-fifths of her benefits and any other taxes, etc., paid by the town of Cortland on her behalf as an employee. This is similar to the arrangement that we have with the City of Beacon for the assessor that we share. Be it further resolved that the supervisor be and hereby is authorized and directed to keep appropriate time records for said employee as required by law. Do I have a motion to appoint Michelle Robbins a part-time planner, and her services will be shared with the town of Portland?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Cassidy.
Aye.
Councilperson D'Alessandro.
Aye.
Councilperson Franco.
Aye.
Councilperson Marinaro.
Aye.
Supervisor Hickman.
Aye. Thank you, Madam Clerk. The resolution passes. And just a note, I'll be meeting with Michelle Robbins tomorrow morning so we can resume our applications to the DC for our grant. We have go over some planning issues with SECRA. Approving fee schedules for the building, planning, zoning, water, sewer, and recreation departments. Typically, we review our fees every few years, and these fees are, I send out to the department heads, ask for their recommendations. They look at the other towns, and they will also look at the services that we provide here. So the rec director, planning and zoning, and the building department have supplied us with fees that they would like to be instituted or raised. And also, as I said before, the water and sewer company our operators have supplied us with their budgets for the year going forward. I would point out that these fees are modifications. Any fees that are mentioned tonight are already in effect and will continue to be in effect. These modifications and additions are inclusive of the existing fees. The town engineer has asked, in addition, that if we would consider a commercial grading and clearing fee of $350, because he feels that that would cover a lot of costs of our oversight, especially as to do with MS4. And also a retrieval fee for files from Iron Mountain. A lot of our older files we store at Iron Mountain, and because somebody can come in and say, I'd like to get a copy of a plan or a building permit or something from, say, 20 years ago, we don't keep them on site. There is a fee to retrieve them from Iron Mountain. So we feel $18 would be the appropriate fee for retrieval from Iron Mountain. If you want expedited, Iron Mountain has a special fee for that one. It's based on a per customer. I believe it's $35. Don't quote me on that. So that fee will stand, but just for your regular retrieval will be $18. So the town board has copies of all the fees. Facility rentals, we will not be talking about field usage fees this evening. We will be talking more about them at our workshop meeting in February. Lime kiln fee schedules, planning board, building department fees, and as I said, the water department fees. With the water department fees, I would ask the board to consider adopting the water department fees that drops the 9,000-gallon quarterly minimum to the $8,000. Now, I'd like to say also, in a lot of our districts, the water and sewer districts, mainly the water districts, the fees are going up. Some towns would just raise your fees. Some of them are running in the red. What we do is we try to ease into it. Some towns will just raise the fees. But next year, with our next fee schedule, we're going to adopt, I believe, that all of our water systems will be running in the black. So, but everybody in a lot of these districts will see an increase in their water rates. So that being said, yes, I'm sorry, Ken. No, 9,000 gallons has been a minimum established by the town of East Fishkill as a minimum usage in a water district. So if you use 9,000 or less, you're charged the minimum fee. We're going to drop that to 8,000 gallons because some people have requested, as we have heard tonight, that they don't use 9,000 gallons. Gallons and gallons, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I could have, Ken. It's been a busy meeting tonight. So. With that, do I have a motion to approve the fee schedules for all of these departments that have submitted them and those two others that the engineers asked that we consider?
At the 8,000 gallon, correct?
And at the 8,000 gallon minimum.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, will you poll the board?
John, I have a question, please.
Sure. I'm sorry.
Building department fees, I know that we as a board have discussed that we make this town more business-friendly.
Mm-hmm.
I remember last year I made mention that some of these building fees be somewhat reduced. And again, I don't want to hear the answer that other towns, neighboring towns, they might or might not have higher fees. To me personally, in order for somebody to come into business in this town, this is very essential. I don't know if we have raised the fees compared to previous. Have we, Scott?
Well, the only adjustment are the new items on here tonight.
Yeah.
Everything else is a rollover.
And one thing I would point out that it's a funny thing with our building department. Number one, taxpayers shouldn't be paying for the inspections that you have because you're doing a project. But actually with our building department, the fees actually pretty much, the revenue actually covers the expense of that department. Last few years has been pretty close, so.
I just want to say.
We're just covering the costs.
Yeah, I just want to say for the record, I am a business owner. My licensing fees have been quadrupled in the last few years. I know that Dutchess County has balanced their budget, but at whose expense? There is a point where those fees are passed on to the consumers. And I want to mention that at the end of the day, whoever buys the goods is the guy they pay, or the lady that pays for those fees. Again, if a builder has to build a house or do a project, these costs are passed on to the consumer. It's not the builder or, I would like to keep these fees to a minimum. Again, are all these fees being revised, Scott?
No, these are some additions.
New schedule of
Yeah.
items that we've added.
We have the
Within that might
216,
be
I
one
don't
or
have the
two
215.
Adjustments of figures, but all the other myriad of fees
All the others
remain the same.
stayed the same.
The only two fees that would be applicable to a business on an ongoing basis, once they have their C of O and they moved in, the one is, first of all, the businesses are required under the state fire code to have an annual fire inspection. That's $150 for the fire inspector to come to the premises, verify everything, write a report, keep the records. And then the state also requires what's known as an operating permit, and that applies to certain high-risk businesses if you have extra gas, grease, things like that. And it's a fire safety thing for the firefighters that the business has to have a record of that with the town, and we have to update that. Both of those are the only two fees that would be applicable to an ongoing operating business in the town, that the town imposes. I agree with you, there are other fees from the health department, DEC, whoever, but these are the only two fees that the town assesses on an operating business.
Right, so, but based on the schedule, have we raised, these fees have been,
No, they were all the same,
These-
except for the three that the supervisor read at the beginning, the commercial grading permit, and the other two.
But basically, all the other building department fees haven't been touched. And again, we're just asking to cover our costs. The taxpayer shouldn't have to pay for it.
I also want to remind that it is our job to keep those costs to a minimum. I keep on saying this. This goes back to last week's discussion about pay rate increases, which is a budgetary item. And again, certain costs go up because we don't minimize expenses. I just want the community and this board get the concept that we need to, I have to use the term, tighten our belt a little bit so that we don't have to, year after year, go back and raise our fees because we need to keep up with our expenses. Thank you.
Okay, I think we're very reasonable in that, and for that, I believe we have a motion, Carol, and a second?
If I could, just,
Well, absolutely, Scott.
it doesn't have to do with businesses, but while we're on the subject, it really has to do with like folks that are out there that are trying to close out open building permits, whether it be for an addition, a deck of sorts. In the past, the way our breakdown was, if you let your schedule or your fee lapse, you had to go back and obtain a new permit all over again and pay those fees all over again, which was a huge burden for people.
So
one
your
of these items
closeout
that
here
we-
is actually very reasonable.
Right, so we added an administrative closeout fee of $100 to say if you can get everything together in 30 days and close this thing out, and, you know, we're done with our inspections, but you got to tighten up some loose ends.
Yeah.
You know, there's an effort to try to, you know, ease the burden on people who have open permits and try to get them closed out, so.
Good point.
Whereas in the past, you've had to pick up
The
where
full-
you left off
the full
and maybe
permit.
pay a full permit fee,
Yeah.
so.
Good point.
And again, not to say anything, but in order to close those permits, many times we require them to hire architects, engineers, which is an additional cost. Which isn't
Potentially,
it?
and we
Quite
do
a
that-
bit of a cost.
We do that in cases where people go and do the work without obtaining a permit, without inspection, and there's no way we can, you know, certify that
Right.
the work's acceptable unless they go out and hire an engineer. Those are the cases that we make them do that, when they've gone out and done the work without obtaining.
We're very sensitive to that situation, absolutely. And again, these are New York State building codes, so there's, you know, not a whole lot. We can't say we can't do the inspections. It's required by the state. So. All righty, Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second, correct?
Okay, yes.
Would you poll the board?
Councilperson Cassidy.
Aye.
Councilperson Del Sandro.
Aye.
Councilperson Franco.
Aye.
Councilperson Marinaro.
Aye.
Supervisor Hickman.
Aye. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next resolution, set a public hearing. We actually were looking at February 25th. Carol, we had set a public hearing for March 24th, I believe would be the voting meeting
Yes.
in March. So do I have a motion to set a public hearing to amend the zoning for zoning application from JFE Associates? And I'd ask to set that public hearing for March 24th, 2016. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, will you poll the board?
Councilperson Cassidy.
Aye.
Councilperson Del Sandro.
Aye.
Councilperson Franco.
Aye.
Councilperson Marinaro.
Aye.
Supervisor Hickman.
Aye. Thank you. Next resolution is authorizing return of excess funds from a letter of credit posted by a local contractor. And Tom, would you just explain this one quickly? They defaulted?
Summary. O'Donnell's, Inc. Was the developer of the Sprout Glen and Serenity Way subdivisions. They failed to fully complete all of the public improvements as proposed. The town made a demand on the letter of credit. We received $150,000 from M&T Bank from their letter of credit. We, as required by law, we did the work, and this would authorize a refund of the balance of $76,407.80 back to M&T Bank. And it would close, but all the work that needed to be done has been done, and it's been taken out of the bond.
And then the creditors will go after
Right,
this.
and the town board previously accepted the roads in those subdivisions as public highways.
Okay. Thank you very much. Do I have a motion authorizing return of excess funds from a letter of credit posted by O'Donnell's Inc.?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Cassidy.
Aye.
Councilperson D'Alessandro.
Aye.
Councilperson Franco.
Aye.
Councilperson Marinaro.
Aye.
Supervisor Hickman.
Aye. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Number 6, authorize the supervisor to enter a full contract with Renewage with regards to the Hillside Lake project. I requested, spoke with my town board, I would request that Councilman Marinaro and Councilman Cassidy would participate. We will be meeting with Stephen Gruber from Renewage Wednesday morning, and if we have to meet with him thereafter, we will do that also, to be sure that everybody's all right with the contract as described by the town attorney. I do believe we would allow a representative from the Hillside Lake community to sit in. I would have no problem with that, and we'll move this along. I'd rather get this moving. I don't want to have to wait another month. I really think this is something we just have to keep the momentum. So that being said, do I have a motion to authorize the supervisor to enter into a contract as with the approval of town board members Marinaro and Cassidy, and with the oversight of one of the members of the community?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Madam Clerk, will you please?
Councilperson Cassidy.
Aye.
Councilperson D'Alessandro.
Aye.
Councilperson Franco.
Aye.
Councilperson Marinaro.
Aye.
Supervisor Hickman.
Aye. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay. Last resolution is to abolish certain positions and authorizing rehiring of employees laid off, whereas town currently employs 3 recreation maintenance workers as part of their job duties, maintain buildings and grounds. Town board has decided that would be more cost-effective. These activities were conducted out of the highway department. The highway superintendent has indicated he's willing to oversee this aspect of town operations. In order to be more efficient and have greater flexibility in the deployment of employees and in consideration of seasonal workloads of each department, it would seem that one department unified would be more cost-effective. Now, therefore, be resolved, the town board hereby abolishes the positions of building and grounds maintenance workers, supervisors of buildings and grounds, and all other positions utilized in maintenance of the town's building and grounds, and be it further resolved that the employees terminated herein be and hereby are authorized to be rehired by the highway superintendent as laborers and motor equipment operators. Be it further resolved that salaries for laborers and maintenance workers are the same and they will suffer no diminishment, and supervisor be and hereby is authorized to recommend to the board resolution with respect to the supervisor of buildings and grounds rehiring as an MEO or such other I would say arrangements as may be worked out. Be it further resolved, these changes shall take effect as of Friday, February 12th, and for the building and grounds supervisor, they would take effect on February 26th. Do I have a motion to abolish certain positions and authorizing rehiring of employees laid off?
So moved.
I'm sorry? Well, we have a vote. If we could talk about it later, if you don't mind. I mean, all right, come on up. Ask the question, certainly.
There's no doubt there's probably several people involved in this that are going to be shifted. Has this been discussed with
3
their
full-timers.
Pardon me?
3 full-timers.
3 full-time, that's all you're talking about?
Yeah, the seasonal help will come on typically
I
as
thought
they
it was
do
an
in the
entire
season.
department.
We usually, what's that?
I thought it was the entire department.
Oh, it's not it's only the maintenance.
Yeah,
side.
just the maintenance, the 3 full-timers and 1 part-timer. And then we bring on the seasonals and they'll just go over the highway and work through there. Okay?
John, is it February 12th or 26th?
26th is the supervisor.
Yeah, that's for the supervisor.
Oh, okay.
So for the full department will be February 12th, and then for the building ground supervisor would take effect of February 26th. Do I have a motion to abolish certain positions and authorizing rehiring of the employees laid off?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Cassidy.
Aye.
Councilperson D'Alessandro.
Aye.
Councilperson Franco.
Aye.
Councilperson Marinaro.
Aye.
Supervisor Hickman.
Aye. Thank you, Madam Clerk. The resolution passes. That's the last of the resolutions for this evening. I'll ask the Comptroller, we have no budget transfers this evening?
Not tonight, but next month.
Okay. Public comments on general town issues. If there's anybody who would like to speak on general town issues, now is the time.
Anne Marie Baker from Hillside Lake. I haven't been to every town board meeting in the last 2 years, but I believe I've been to a statistically relevant sample. And this is the first time that I can remember that the highway superintendent was actually at a town board meeting. And I just wanted to acknowledge that and say that I appreciate his presence.
We appreciate that, too. Thank you.
First and last.
Any other comments on general town issues?
Good evening. My name's John Curzio. I had a few comments I'd like to address to the board. One is I just saw, I guess it's been going on for several weeks now, but the blasting across the street to start on the subsidized housing. I think that's very disturbing, a very disturbing development to come into our town. I know one councilman originally tried to sell the idea that this was middle-income housing.
Workforce housing.
You can call it by whatever name you want. It's subsidized low-income housing.
No, it's workforce, but let's...
It's low-income housing. I know there was a petition submitted with over 300 signatures. 0 people signed to allow this to go forward. So I think the town did not stand up and fight this. Rob Astorino in Westchester County had a very similar situation. He stood up, fought, went to court, and won. And, excuse me, was able to stop that from coming into Westchester. I'm in the cities of New Rochelle and Mount Vernon every day, and I see this type of housing in there, and those are great cities, but it's not the character of the town that I'd like to live in. So I thought that was a very disturbing development to see that go forward, and I was disappointed in the board for allowing that to go forward, not standing up and fighting. Besides that...
We've always been supportive of workforce housing. We actually have about 25 seniors that are signed up that would like to move into there. And of course, you have the Abilities First, which is going to be a large component of that. So to service the workforce housing, the seniors, and the Abilities First, I think it's a worthwhile project.
Well, it's about 96 units, correct?
It's a worthwhile
It's
project.
about 96 units, correct? 88.
88, yeah.
And then only a certain percentage of that is for seniors. The vast majority is for...
What was for seniors? I know we have 25.
There's 25 to 30 for Abilities First, the disabled who can work somewhat.
Yep.
And then the same amount for the seniors. Those would be 2 buildings, so that's approximately 50 units. And then the other 38 will be renting to those who are working, and the rents are $50 a month more than Hopewell Garden
Comparable to
apartments
Hopewell
across
Garden,
the
yeah.
street. Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of misinformation being spread around the project.
Well, it's been, every time
gonna
I
be
come
a
up
very
here,
good
every time
project.
I've come up here, I've gotten a different answer.
Okay.
So, but moving on from that, I know I got updated figures. The town debt stands at $23 million, and I still find that very disturbing. I know, Mr. Supervisor, you keep talking about a 10-year plan. As far as the bonds, I saw that most of them don't expire until 2030 or
I don't think I ever
2040.
said 10 year. They always go with the.
Well, no,
length of-
you've said at the
they go
past
with the
couple.
ter- They go with the term
Excuse
of the
me, Mr.
bond.
Supervisor, I'm talking. You'll get your chance in a moment, but
Just when correcting you.
but the bonds mostly expire in 2030, 2040. You've mentioned 10-year plans in the past. I don't see any 10-year plan. We were placed on the severely fiscally stressed list by the New York State Comptroller's Office, and I know you said that most of that, or a majority of that reason, was because we had a big snow season last year. I know the town of Wappingers had just as much snow as the town of East Fishkill, and they were taken off that list. If they were, it was either them or Poughkeepsie taken off that list. So would it be fair to say if this trend that we've set this winter with hardly any snow continues, that we'll be taken off that list next year?
I don't know what their time frame is for taking us off a stress list. I'm very confident we'll be coming off, though. Absolutely.
Well, a town can get off in 1 year. They put us on that list for a lack of sensible budgeting.
I thought it was, I forget what the thing was.
Well, they said a lack
Just let me ask the
of sensible
comptroller,
budgeting.
if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if we're not off the list. I think the calculations used to determine whether a municipality is fiscally stressed, to me, is questionable. I think Poughkeepsie was the example, and I don't want to disparage them, but it was the town, or the city had a negative $10 million fund balance, but was brought off the list. We still have a positive fund balance, and they said it was too low, or, they criticized that portion of it. So I do question some of the metrics involved. I think we've admitted that the trend has been to withdraw down fund balance, and that is not sustainable over the long term, and we have a plan to correct that in this year's budget. With some one-off revenues, I do think that will restore some of the fund balance and the cash. So I expect to be off the fiscally stressed list in the next release, but I can't say for sure. No. And then I would be surprised if we're on it again.
But it was stated in that by the Comptroller's office that it was a lack of sensible budgeting, correct? That was in the report.
If you say so. I'm not disputing.
Okay. Well, that was cited by the Poughkeepsie Journal. I called the State Comptroller's office. They cited it as a lack of sensible budgeting, which I know it's been brought up many times, the pay increases that the town board passes. The town of Wappinger supervisor makes in the mid-50,000s. I know town of East Fishkill is in the mid-70s. It's a comparable population size of the town. And I know every time this has been brought up, you say you have to think about it, and an answer is never returned to the public.
Think about what? I've gone several times without a raise. I forget, historically, I've only taken over average of my 10 years in office. I think it's been about 1.5% a year. Obviously, I can't compare us to Wappingers. I think they're a little bit smaller.
They're 1,000 people smaller. 29,000 versus 28,000.
Square mileage-wise, they're much smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So we're a larger town. We're the second largest town in Dutchess County, but I'm not going to compare myself to the supervisor of Wappingers because I really don't know, their duties.
Mm-hmm. Well, along with the salaries, the town board has full-time benefits for a part-time job. You have pensions, a pension plan, and the Dutchess County Legislature has a similar system in place. And I asked this 2 months ago or actually in October, so more than 2 months ago. And I asked, how much does that cost the town with the health plan? And you said that you'd have to get back to me. Do you have figures on that?
What does our health plan cost for the town, overall town-wide? 300,000 or something? What?
Well, I'm just talking about
I'm just saying that's the medical.
The total cost of
Well, let's do total cost for everything, everybody.
Something around 1.8 million.
1.8 million. What 300,000? I was thinking was just what we saved in the medical plan that 1 year.
We did save when we moved to
that
deductible health insurance plan for several years.
So we're about
I think 8 million.
1.8 million. Okay, about 1.8 million is.
Well, I'm just talking about the town board.
Oh, I was talking about the entire employees.
Yeah, I'm just mentioning the town board, so we're on different pages there. But going back or going forward to taxes, one of a close family friend who doesn't wish to be identified in public, but I'm sure if in private that would be a different story. He showed me that he has a 6.6% town tax increase, and he's afraid to come forward because of retaliation. He thinks it's going to go higher.
Why would he?
But
I would never retaliate.
But the town board often states that taxes either remain the same or go down. Mm-hmm. And it's a lack of transparency by the board, second only to the Albany legislature.
Well, actually, sir, it's the Albany legislature who dictates how the percentage is calculated on the bill. And you're misreading, or your relative is, that's not the levy, that's the levy increase. It's not the tax increase.
Yes.
So if one were to take last year's town tax bill and compare it to this year, I dare say you'll see it's either the same or slightly less.
Well, he compared the dollar amounts, and it was a 6.6%.
And he probably did some improvements that are proper.
He should go speak with the assessor, though, and they don't retaliate. They would sit down and talk with them and go over it.
But I think,
we don't retaliate.
I think Dutchess County needs to take the town of East Fishkill needs to take a lesson from Dutchess County, who decreased taxes, and whether in Dutchess County it was a dollar amount.
But they took $500,000 away of sales tax.
I promise you, you'll get your chance in a moment.
No, you're not running the meeting, the supervisor.
I promise you, you'll get your chance.
Dutchess County
reduced it by $1. Dutchess County reduced it by a dollar amount.
Okay, let's have a little bit of order, and I would just point out Dutchess County did use their fund balance to help with the tax reduction.
And they took away $500,000
The thing that you're actually
of sales tax from
criticizing
the town
us
of East
for,
Fishkill.
now
Be
you're saying
honest.
Dutchess County did that.
Now, Dutchess County reduced it by a dollar amount. And
Right,
I think
right,
the
by
county,
using
I
fund
think the
balance.
county executive would disagree with you that they didn't balance their budget in an appropriate manner. They did. I was at all the town hall meetings to discuss the budget. Neighbors to our south had 2 years in a row with no tax increase, and they're optimistic about a tax decrease this year. The town of East Fishkill, as the state comptroller said, that's not a partisan office looking to,
Right.
yeah. They say that we do not have sensible budgeting, and every time this is brought up consistently, it goes in one ear and out the other. It's never addressed. And it was, Mr. Supervisor, you yourself, when I offered you a number, and I've said this before, to another supervisor to discuss that, your response was, well, we have very smart people, we can handle it ourselves. And that's the mentality that keeps getting East Fishkill and the mess it's in.
I don't think we're in a mess.
Well, the state controller.
That's your decision, that's your interpretation.
Well, it's the state-
But
the
we
state
work very
controller's
hard here in the town of East Fishkill, and as the comptroller will tell you, we work very hard to provide. And we haven't exceeded the tax cap, which has been getting lower every year, and we're very proud of the services we provide. And you can compare us to whomever, but I think we do a very good job.
Can I add one thing? We did a survey of the tax rates of all the comparable towns in Dutchess County. And we took an average $300,000 house and applied taxes based on those rates. And the rates, what you would pay in East Fishkill was the same or less than any of the towns, and it was half as much as a number of towns in the area. I don't want to say which towns they were off the top of my head because I might get it wrong, but I would say the majority of towns that we did the comparison with, which was all the towns in Dutchess County, even if you just considered the southern half of Dutchess County, we were the same or less, as much as half less as the town taxes paid in other towns. And this is with, a recreation department that's second to none, and
a full
with
police
a police
department,
department, et cetera. So,
highway department.
And this isn't to say that I don't think we should always be trying to
We're always trying to look
more
for
efficient, and
efficiencies, yeah.
I do think we've said it many times, is that this budget has to be a budget with no appropriated fund balance. We've hit the bottom of where we want to be drawing that down. So I agree with that point, but I do think that the people of East Fishkill are getting, a great deal. If you look at the town taxes that someone in East Fishkill pays, the services that are provided, and you compare it to any other towns in Dutchess County. And I have that chart, and I can give it to you, too, just as a comparison. Doesn't mean we can't try to do better, but,
Well, last point, it's just exactly that. Every time something's brought up that this can save $5,000 or this can save $2,000, the response of this board is, well, it's only $2,000, it's only $5,000. It's not taken seriously. This board doesn't take...
Do you have an example from this evening?
This evening?
Yeah, just asking.
I can provide you a list if you want it next week.
Okay.
I'd have to go back and research and see all the videotape meetings of everything I and other citizens
What about all
have
the
brought up.
thousands of dollars that have been saved in the past? Engineering in-house now, changing our healthcare, changing our providers. There's been a lot of savings.
So you don't want...
I'll tell you.
We will continue, we always continue to look for more.
You don't want to
Always.
enhance on that?
I would tell you, excuse me, Tom, and Mark, you had that chart that showed our expenses. Remember the chart that you did for our budget presentation last year, the year before, that showed our expenses?
or the expenses
It's flat.
are
It's flat. I mean, it's all the
substantially
other
flat.
expenses are going, the expenses are going for medical, pension, and our revenues, but our expenditures stayed flat. I mean, I think it's a very telling chart.
From 2010, we went that far back till the 2016 budget.
Yeah.
Roughly
We basically stayed flat. And I think, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm just very proud of what we do here.
Well, like I said, if you want me to email you that list of, I can't name them off the top of my head right now, except, well, actually two
Absolutely.
I can, the pay increases, the pension system, and the health benefits.
Mm-hmm.
But I can provide you a whole list if you want. And if every time I brought them up in the past and other people brought them up, they've been dismissed by the town board, as that only saves that amount. It's not worth it.
We'll take a look.
These
We
only,
take a look.
these
We take-
only things
we
add up.
take a look at
They save a
everything.
big amount in the end.
We take a look at everything.
And that would cut taxes. And to the Councilman Marinara's point, you have to tighten the belt. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Anybody else to speak on general town issues?
food for thought. John just brought something up, and I have a question. When you talk about the $1.8 million for benefits for town employees, is that
I'm
what it
sorry,
was?
what was that? Oh, the $1.8 million?
1.8.
Ballparking for health, it might be a little less than that. Yeah.
Okay, say 1.7 million?
Sure.
Okay.
Pension and benefits,
Who's covered under benefits? Are elected officials?
Well, we have about 100 employees.
About 100 employees?
Yeah, I mean, that changes with the seasonals that come on and then they go off. But basically,
What
we have about 100.
elected employees get benefits? Like, what is the criteria for an elected?
Okay. Full-time, I get benefits. The clerk gets benefits. I'm not sure about the council people. I forget, you have put in so many
You get
hours to
benefits?
get benefits.
You get health benefits?
I have a full-time position.
Yeah.
So every elected official gets health benefits from the start, from the day they're elected?
They're offered to them, I think, and with all employees too. Some are offered to them, some don't take them.
Okay.
You can opt out. You don't have to take them. You know, if you have your husband or somebody has benefits somewhere else, they don't have to take them, but, yeah.
I just wasn't sure if being an elected official and being a part-time position, do you get full-time benefits? Like, does Mr. Cassidy get full-time benefits being a part-time employee?
Yes.
Okay.
We used to have they used to be paid 100%, actually. And 3 years ago,
Yeah.
roughly, we changed that and we
We all contribute.
all pay 20%. I believe it's 20.
I pay 60 at my job.
Yeah.
Okay. And I haven't, and by the way, I didn't get a raise for 3 years. So the 1%, 5%, I didn't get a raise because the economy was that bad. So I believe, because, I do work for a corporation, and I do believe, and I'm told by my CEO, that we need to do better. What we have, we need to do better. I don't know, in my position, what I do the job of probably 2 people or 3 people. So when I'm asked to do something, I have to prioritize it and get it done.
I can relate to that.
So I just wanted to say, when we're patting ourselves on the back, we really have to put out, as many I've said, we have to tighten our belt. Because I know I pay 50% of my benefits.
Yeah.
And I just don't see why, I just don't see why you don't pay more than 20%.
Okay.
That's my opinion. Thank you.
Okay.
On that topic of benefits for part-time employees, what are the salaries of town board council members? I know it's posted somewhere, but surely
I have no idea.
somebody can
11,
throw out what they're
13,
making.
five?
I have no idea.
Public, you don't know how much you're making?
I have it.
14.
If you want the,
$16,000 maybe, 17?
no,
13,
13, okay. Let's go with that.
I have the exact figure if you want.
Okay,
8
what-
or something.
They fluctuate between 13,700 to 16,600.
Okay.
That's the deputy.
So the high end is for Mr. Cassidy
deputies.
as the, whatever that position you has when you step into and the supervisor's out. As well as that, there are benefits involved, as we just discussed. There are health benefits, and I believe you said you pay 20% now, which is pretty good, I might say. There's also a pension as well, right?
I make a pension. I'm a full-time employee, yes.
Part-time council members get pensions?
I don't know, do you guys put in pensions? I think you have to put
It's
in like a
available
percentage.
to any employee.
I have turned my pension down.
Okay. As well, what is the point they have to reach when they get lifetime benefits? I'm talking about the part-time council members. How long do they have to be a
There's
council
a policy on that, and I don't recall if it's 20 or 25 years.
Before
There
they
is a
get-
policy that was adopted that
Wasn't it
says,
at one time 10 years?
oh, it was at one time, but then that's been increased.
So now it's up to
I get mixed
approximately
up
20
whether
years.
it's 20 or 25. There is a
Okay.
policy on it.
I asked this question because several other people had come up here, and it's something I hadn't thought of. I don't want to steal their thunder on that, but they made a good point. they brought up the possibility of appointed volunteers as council members, unpaid. Volunteers, meaning they're volunteering to do the job because they want to do the job. They're not doing it because they want the benefits. They're not doing it because they want the pension or any of that. And those same words that we just heard mentioned several times up here, you said you'll have to think about that, possibility of that. Whatever came of that?
How do you do something like that? I mean, we've been elected for how many years? I don't know how you would change that at town.
Well,
I've never
surely
gave-
there's a way to find
Excuse me?
out. Surely there's a way to find out if you wanted to do that.
Oh, if we wanted to do that, I imagine we could look into that, maybe be a townwide referendum. I don't know if really the answer, how we would do that, how we would attract people. I mean, certainly something could be looked at.
I understand it's like asking the fox to guard the hen house, but...
No, I don't think it's
um,
that at all. It's just, people who work, they usually get compensated. I don't know if the next towns around us, I think they get compensated also, so.
As far as the current town board members, yourself excluded, we have 3 business owners and 1 that I can only assume gets union benefits unless your spouse has better benefits than that, I don't know. Either way, you're getting decent benefits as well. So they're all collecting from this, from the taxpayers, yet the 3 of them have their own businesses, which they could be getting their own benefits from. I further bring this topic along because I don't feel that the whole community is being represented by the current town board. And I'll tread lightly when I say when I look up there, and I don't mean this disrespectfully at all, I see 5 middle-aged white Republican males.
I appreciate the middle-aged part.
Take what you can, right? So that is not representing the entire diversity of East Fishkill. That's why I bring up the appointed volunteers to cover all bases. So I would have to wonder who up there is represented, feels they can fully represent all the various races that live in East Fishkill. Or do any of you feel you can fully represent the female population, the young adults, the low income, the seniors?
I'm very confident saying that I represent everybody. I've knocked on a ton of doors, and I continue to knock on doors, and I will continue to represent everybody in this town.
Do you feel your decision is the best for all of those groups of people?
I am so concerned about this town and the people in this town.
You know what, Tom? I will give you that. I will agree with you. I believe you are, and I believe Manny is. Okay? I will definitely agree with you on that. But I will still make the point, this entire board is not covering everyone in this town.
No,
There's
I
something
beg to
be
differ.
said.
I know everybody on this board, and I know how hard they work for everybody in this town.
Something I find very interesting is all the town boards meetings that I've sat in on and watched. I don't recall one town board meeting where yourself, Nick, or Peter voted against Mr. Hickman.
Okay?
That's pretty weird. Okay, I don't recall one recall one item on an agenda ever that Mr. Hickman was not in favor of, that he put and let his board decide.
We are all independent thinkers.
Yep.
Just
You can laugh all you want.
Just pointing out the obvious, and it's just something, food for thought, that's
Okay.
questionable. Thank you.
Anybody else like to make a comment on general town issues? There being none, do I have any comments from town board members?
I'd like to thank all the members of the community who place their trust in me. I work very hard for this community. I represent the Planning and Zoning Board. I attend many, many meetings. I am very diligent in everything I do, and I meet regularly with as many departments as I can. And having a business and family and everything else, I think I put in more than a part-time job here, probably closer to a full-time hours. and I don't need anybody to tell me or pat me on the back. I know what I do, and the people have rewarded me, and thank you for another 4-year term.
Thank you, Nick, and I agree. I think we have a great board, and we do our best for the town because we love the town of East Fishkill. And I can tell you, I sincerely love the town of East Fishkill. That being said, do I have a motion to adjourn for the next town?
I have some
Excuse me.
comments, please.
Okay, sure.
First of all, I want to thank the Hillside Lake community members and the whole community for their presence in the presentation meeting with Renewage. The meeting was very informative, and everybody really asked some good questions. So, I am confident that something is going to happen, that we are going to start something in the lake for the remediation process. I guess we need to keep calm and continue on, and with God's help, something will happen. The other thing that I want to bring up to the discussion tonight is, I remember last meeting that we had, when I addressed the issue as far as salary pay increases across the board with town officials, elected officials, and the town supervisor, at that meeting, responded saying that it's part of the budget. Now, I want the community to know that the town supervisor is the person that creates the budget. He is in charge of addressing those issues. We as a board have a chance to review that and to either agree with him or disagree. I have spoken with the town supervisor about those issues in private and in public, and I have carried a little personal review with our near town. I've gotten in touch with the town of Wappingers, which, again, population-wise, it's almost as big as the town of East Fishkill. I also got in touch with the town of LaGrange, with the elected officials, and I have some figures. I went back as far as the town of East Fishkill, 10 years. The other town, I went about 5 years. For instance, the town of Wappingers, council member, as of 2016 through 2012, their salary is $9,465. They have not received a pay increase in all those years. Town supervisor, $56,000, no pay increase. The town of LaGrange, their board members, they are $77,400, same situation. Now, our council people, going back to 2006, they started at $12,480. As I said tonight, 2016, some of them are at 13,770. Some are at 16,671. Our town supervisor in 2006 was at 67,000. 2016 is at 77,000. Just for the record, there are some years that the town supervisor has taken 0% increase, but the previous year it took 4%. When he took another 0% increase, the following year it took a 3%. My point that I want to make is that after discussing and reviewing these records, if we don't give these pay raises just across the board because we have to, but rather where it's appropriate, we could be saving about $20,000 a year just from these pay raises. Now, in a 5-year, forget about 10 years, we'll be saving over $100,000. probably more. You know, in the past, I've also discussed how to save money. There is an old building on Lime Kiln Road, and I'm talking about the building with the exercise machines, where we use about $80,000 to $90,000 to maintain that building open. If we close that building down, we will be saving that money. So, again, if we put some of these things in place, you know, and again, it's small change, we can make a difference. The other thing is the message that we send the community. You know, if we say we have to increase fees because other towns do it, well, let's decrease certain things because other towns have not done it. And probably these salaries will be one of them. That would be very symbolic. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a member of this board. I said it when I was a member of the community. We need to really lead. I don't want to follow other towns, but we need to lead in this town. And I think we have smart people. They're really smart. It's just putting the will behind what we want to accomplish. So the other thing that I want to say, the town supervisor at the last town hall meeting kind of said, you don't have to say that you didn't take your pay raise. I am proud to say that I didn't take a pay raise. Me, Councilman Franco, and as of this year, the controller. That's something to be proud of, because I am saving taxpayers' dollars.
Okay. I didn't realize this was going to get to a budget hearing or budget discussion. Yes, I've taken no raises, and then the following years, when I did take a raise, I took a raise that was basically the same raise that our rank and file took. So understanding that, you know, I've tried to pitch in the best myself, and I'm not going to talk about anybody else. I believe that it's up to everybody. If they want to take a raise, they could take a raise. If they don't want to take a raise, as I said, there's been years I haven't taken it. As far as Lime Kiln, I know the councilman does not want Lime Kiln to be open. I do think it has a certain benefit to the community. Recreation does not pay for itself. Typically, recreation is a cost. And I do think it is a very use, the use is growing. We do our best for the town of East Fishkill, and that's really all I have to say.
If I may clarify again.
Sure.
It's not the whole Lime Kiln facility that we're talking about. I was very specific.
It's the gym.
It's the gym.
Yeah.
So the gym is really minimal benefit to the community, and yet the community is paying for most of it. I have to say that IBM is going to be out of this area. The writing is on the wall.
They're already out.
Okay. So why are we keeping a facility open that there is no benefit to the community? Let's shut it down. Let's save some money.
There is a benefit to the community. They have more than enough. They can go there. It's very cheap. People do go there.
And more people are going there.
I have done a research, and again, I'm not talking out of my head. Okay, the figures were brought in front of the board.
Okay.
And most of the people that were using that facility was some IBMers and very few people from the town of East Fishkill. Now, if we really want to save some money, it's almost $100,000 a year.
No, not for the building, not for the gym is not
Just for the gym. Just for the gym.
We'll have to check with the controller. 'Cause
I checked with the controller and I brought the figures in.
I think that includes lights for the
You
fields.
know, we could disagree on this.
We could disagree. Take a look at it.
I'm not making this up. When I speak, I usually get the figures from the controller first.
Yeah.
I brought the figures. You know, it's 90,000.
We'll take a look at the figures.
The bottom line is that, you know, I want to get off the list of being fiscally under stress. And, you know, we have to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a message that I'm putting toward the board. I've done it before.
Yeah.
We could take the message or just leave it where it's at.
We are working very diligently to do a lot of things here, I can assure you of that. And fiscally, we're going to be in very good shape. I'm not happy with what New York State decided to do, but we're in very good shape. Also, I would like to make just one point that I've forgotten. You know, you said that we look at other towns, we don't want to be a follower. The only reason we look at other towns as far as what they're charging, because we don't want to be charging more than anybody. We try to establish like a market. But again, the building department revenues basically equals the expenses, which is how it should be, because the taxpayer should not be paying for it. We are very diligent and working hard, and I think that with a few things coming down the road, the Dome project is going to be starting this year. They'll be picking up their building permit tomorrow, and I think you're going to see some very amazing things happening, and that's what you have to do, is invest in your town. Thank you very much. If anybody would like to say anything else? We're off public stuff now, Bobby. We're on to community board stuff. All righty. Thank you, Bob. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Madam Clerk, poll the board.
Councilperson Cassidy?
Aye.
Councilperson Delisandro?
Aye.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I should have voted no.
Councilperson Franco?
Aye.
Councilperson Marinaro?
Aye.
Supervisor Hickman?
Vote no. Vote no, so we didn't all do the same thing.
Abstain.
Oh, that's right, I should have done that.
Thank you very much.